It is 6 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Tennessee Titans are back on the practice field today, tomorrow, and Friday as OTAs are set to begin. In the SEC baseball tournament over the weekend, the Vanderbilt Commodores are the 2025 SEC champions after beating Ole Miss in the final 3-2 Sunday and smacking Tennessee 10-0 on Saturday in the semifinal. Conference champions have been crowned, and now the road to Omaha is set. Vanderbilt is the number 1 overall seed and will host the Nashville Regional starting this Friday with ETSU, Louisville, and Wright State in their regional. For the Tennessee Vols, the reigning national champions, they get the 14th seed and host a regional in Knoxville. Cincinnati, Wake Forest, and Miami of Ohio are in their regional. Conference finals continues. In the NBA last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 1 win away from the NBA Finals after beating the Minnesota Timberwolves last night 128-126, and they lead the series 3-1. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the way with 40 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. In the NHL, the Carolina Hurricanes staved off elimination last night, blanking the Florida Panthers 3-0. Behind goalie Frederick Anderson's 20-save shutout, the Canes are down 3-1. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Good morning. Welcome in. I'm sorry to disrupt your fine Tuesday morning coming off a holiday weekend. Probably didn't expect to hear me hanging out with Ramon Foster. It's Buck Rising. Good morning. Hope you all had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. 615-737-1045 is the number. Big fella.
Yeah.
How'd you get stuck babysitting me for 4 hours this morning? What happened?
Say
here?
that. You too generous, man. This is adopt a host week right here. I got anxiety behind it. I'm excited behind it.
Oh no!
And this is what we need as a station, man, to blend this thing up in a pot, Buck.
I am trying to start some stuff this morning. I'm trying to cause some problems. I am so sorry that Will is not here to protect you from all of this that is going to go down the next couple of days. But he's on vacation, deservedly so. Yeah. And it's going to be a rotating cast of characters in here with Ramon throughout the course of the week. So today, you get me. Tomorrow, I believe it's Brent.
Yeah.
And then Dawn, and then Slay to finish the week. Dear God. All right. See, now, you want to get me out of the way on the front end. I get that.
Yeah.
But to have Slay finish on a Friday. That is going to be some toxic energy in this place.
I won't lie. I've been looking forward to yours. I say that.
You sure as hell don't speak for your audience, buddy.
No. Sometimes, it's just like raising kids or cats, okay? Kids or cats.
What do you know about that?
Well, what I'm telling you is sometimes they don't know what's best for them, Buck. That's all I'm saying,
That's
man.
Right. We're about to tell them what's best for them.
Sometimes listen to me while I teach you how to drive, okay? How about not eating 4 bars of candy is not good for you, okay? And chocolate's probably not good for cats. So what are we doing here?
Moderation is key.
Moderation.
That's what's at the crux of the issue, and we're looking forward to diving into all manner of good stuff with you throughout the course of these next 4 hours. And we're going to test my stamina today. It's been a long time since I've done 4.
Yeah.
So this is, and it's a little bit like cheating on my current relationship, to be honest with you, with Lucas and Robert. There's going to be a little foreplay. We'll work through that in the 6 a.m. hour, but they didn't think they were going to get that in the first segment. And we'll see what Austin Price has to say today as well for his regularly scheduled visit. Mike Wilson told Lucas no, that he couldn't come on my radio show today, but he's going to come on this radio show today because he's team us.
Yay.
Not them. And we'll look forward to that as well. But given Mike Wilson's presence, or soon-to-be presence on the radio show, that means we're talking baseball. And congratulations to Vanderbilt for winning the SEC tournament, doing so in very comfortable fashion. We now have the seeding and the regionals for the baseball postseason in the world of college ball, and Vanderbilt is the number 1 overall seed. They did so stomping out the University of Tennessee en route to doing all of that. And I wanted to start, Ramon, with Tim Corbin speaking on this series, or speaking on this game, the single elimination game that they run-ruled Tennessee in, and kind of hear the thoughts of both coaches and let you react if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, we played well. Obviously, it was pretty complete in terms of pitching, defense, and offense. Hit the ball back up the middle on a day where the field was going to play large. Cody obviously got us off to a good start. Once he got back, the first two hitters, I think he really settled in. His fastball was crisp. Looked like it was spinning well, at least from our vantage point. And it was a good attack on the hitters. Connor certainly came in, gave us 3 good innings as well. Played good outfield defense. But we were just able to get on base and move and play a good game, take care of the baseball.
So that's Corbin. Now let's hear from the losing party in the middle of all that, Tony Vitello, if we could be so kind. Justin?
Poor effort, not what everybody woke up early for, but also hats off to Vanderbilt. They outplayed us today. A lot of things piled up for us. Again, maybe bad itinerary by me leading into the game, but the guys were energetic going in. The theme early was some ground balls, including the bunt, getting past our guys. We maybe could have been quicker or make a better pitch. But again, Vanderbilt did what they needed to do offensively. We had a couple innings, where we could have done something but did not. Just overall needed to be better in every area.
Tale of two halves from two coaches there. That's Tim Corbin and then Tony Vitello, both speaking after the Vols were run-ruled by Vanderbilt, who would eventually go on to win the SEC tournament.
First, this is how this series is just going to have to go. Like the way these teams are playing it, if you can put your foot on their necks, stuff them in the corner, you should. And Vanderbilt did it this year, not once but twice. Won the series also in Knoxville. And a few years before that, I'm not going to act like the Vols didn't have, good success against Vanderbilt. All Tim Corbin and his crew did was coach. All he did with his crew was develop. All he did with his crew is ask for more NIL, and now he's gotten it. You said something earlier before we came on show. Are you here for a good time or a long time? That is that is the way I somewhat look at it right now in the stage that this rivalry and Coach Vitello and where Tim Corbin is and is going to be and has been, right? Because I'm listening to Coach Corbin speak, man, and it's fascinating. Like you said, it is a tale of two coaches, but he's talking about the stuff that they've coached and practiced. Now, I'm not saying Tony V isn't, because when you lose, frustration, emotions, everything else kicks in. I think that's what you heard out of Tony V in that press conference right there. But just listening to what Tim Corbin said, it is coaching. It is his standards. It is the way they're going to operate, because he said they did a bunch of open field hitting. He knew the field was going to be big. He said that to his team. There's no reason to hit home runs. We're here to play ball. We're going to spread the ball around because they're going to allow us to, and the field is going to allow us to. Then he also mentioned this, too. His pitchers pitch well. I mean, I think most people understand, too. The better your pitching staff is, the better team you're going to have. But he said something that if you're around baseball or got kids that are in it deeply, he not only mentioned they pitch well, but he said, but the spin rate of the ball allowed their hitters to miss. That's when you can tell they have emphasized in a year like this, there are some hitters in the SEC. If you're going to pitch for Tim Corbin, the Vanderbilt Commodores, any team like that, and probably most teams in general, what is your spin rate on the ball because of the movement? I don't care if you're throwing 100, 92, 95, 86. If that ball comes in on a line, Buck, they're going to time it up. And it seems to me they have, as a staff, just hearing that little part right there, have emphasized spinning the ball. Because if you spin the ball, physics and all that type of jazz, it moves up, down, up, sideways, outside, in, whatever you want to do with it. And I think that's what the Vols had issues with. And we're talking about 10-0 game, Buck. You can tell there was an emphasis on not putting the ball on the plate for the Volunteers.
I love how much they hate each other.
I do too.
I love it so much. So Lucas talks me off the ledge on this sometimes because I am actively advocating for more hatred in sports, and I don't want to, take away from the whole sportsmanship theme, because I understand those things are important and that there are young minds out there that need to be shaped the correct way as far as how competition is approached. But I love the Vanderbilt players getting up in the previously heard press conference there after Tim Corbin spoke. A couple of players were made available. They're up in the recruiting pitch at Vandy. We don't like them. They don't like us. If you're somebody who's being recruited by both schools, pretty easy to see who you should be going with is the message from the Vanderbilt players in the post-game press conference. And I love that the juice is there, that no one side looks like they have like an advantage for a significant amount of time, right? Neither side is going to dominate this rivalry, which is exactly what you want out of this. These are two high-level programs who go about it a very, very different way. And I wonder how you, as somebody in this world of baseball, and how all of that is presented to potential players, potential collegiate players for both sides of things. And I wonder how you look at both of these programs at this particular point in time, understanding that, Tony V and the Vols, they had a great year. They're the defending national champions, and now Vanderbilt's there to put them back in their place after not liking having their nose rubbed in it last year.
No doubt. It is fascinating. Like you said, I got a son that's coming up, man. Like a lot of parents, this is a group where the 27s basically can start to be recruited and whatnot. So if you have your eyes on the Vols or Vandy or Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Alabama, LSU, then you understand what this is, and you understand what that messaging is too. He's basically telling Vanderbilt players, hey, know your style and know what you're getting into, and especially with this series. Like, I don't care if you grew up loving one or the other. If you choose the other, you're going to hate them when you come to these schools. And I'm with you. I love this. I think it's necessary. I think it's made Coach Tim Corbin a better coach, and I think there will be a reshifting of the way Tony Vitello moves forward with his staff too. But with the Vols, I see this. Of a very talent-driven team that have come in and relied upon that. And it's good when it's good. When you got the pitching staff to back it up, when you're not making as many errors as they've made this year. We're watching the Vols have issues with throwbacks to first base. That, to me, you don't see that with Vanderbilt. And what I'm getting at is the adjustment I feel like Tony Vitello and his staff have to make moving forward has to be smaller detail. It has to be in a position to where you're teaching the game and emphasizing it. Sometimes we're not going to go yard in the park every single time. And I feel like that's, when you look at the way Vandy's played this year, it has been on the ground. It has been line drives. It has been at times when you need a home run, you take that home run. But it's an attitude setter for either squad. And I don't know if I've ever seen R.J. Austin this piped up ever about a series at Vanderbilt. This means a whole lot more. And hate, pure good hate. We're not going Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Hey, what RG3 and revolving.
So help me God. If I know Ryan Clark's a buddy of yours, but if I hear anything more about Robert Griffin III and Ryan Clark, I'm gonna scream. I'm so tired of it.
It should have been thrown over the bridge. Is what it was. Like legitimate. Like nobody had time for those two with that one. And RC's my guy, but it got catty. It got way too catty. It did on either side. But with that being said, this is good for the sport. And as they have said in this Vanderbilt presser and the way they acted, and they should act this way, you do what you want when you're popping. And the Vols better figure something out, because the last thing they want is Corbin and his crew to really climb that hill again.
Yeah, somebody needs to make T-shirts with that. You do what you want when you're popping, baby.
Buck, that's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
I truly believe that, though. If you are talking trash, stumping on the home plate in an opposing team, beat them. That's what sports is to me. Beat them if you don't like it. All right, go at them. I love this. And it's not just here. It's everybody else in the SEC, too. Like, legitimately, if you don't like the way a team acts, I know Tennessee's got the biggest target. And any team that can embarrass him, and a lot of teams did this year, then you better do it now. Because if he does go get the talent and Tony Vitello switches up the way he coaches and add more detail and just, what do you want? What's the word I'm looking for? Responsibility to how they play. Then they can be damn good. Because we saw that in the first two games in the SEC tournament. Beating Texas, I know they pitched their bullpen or whatnot, but that's a legitimate claim from a team that has all the talent in the world, just not a lot of detail right now.
Well, speaking of competition, I don't know what the competition is going to look like at the 104.5 The Zone 2025 Golf Classic presented by Ferguson on Monday, June the 9th at Nashville Golf and Athletic Club. But I know it'll be a good time. Located in the heart of Cool Springs, this historic golf course features breathtaking panoramic views of the beautiful Middle Tennessee countryside. Purchase your team today and choose between 2 flights, 8 a.m. or 1 p.m., and spend the day teeing off with us. I saw the 3HL crew went out for a golf outing together.
Always out.
Is Slate good at golf?
Hell no. No, Buck.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
No, absolutely not. He's there for vibes.
You know what? That's all right. You need a minister of vibes,
You
baby.
do,
You
and I
need a
love
minister of vibes. Now, unfortunately for the audience, I'm the minister of the vibes today, and we're going to get into a lot more because speaking of coaching, I want to talk to Ramon about the value of a coach. We've heard a lot of things from Titans players with OTAs on the horizon about Brian Callahan's new offseason plan. We've obviously heard from Tim Corbin and Tony Vitello today. So the value of a coach, regardless of sports, we're going to dive into that with the big fella. We'll take your phone calls, too. This is Ramon and Will on 104.5 The Zone. I had to stop myself from saying my own name. Good morning. Welcome back to the show. Is it brewed by Scooter's Coffee?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's not fueled by Scooter's Coffee, but brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Established in 1998. They keep the morning show going. They can do the exact same thing for you, too. Filling in for Will all week long is the rest of us. We are on, it's a little bit of an adopt the host situation, as Ramon said. He needed a couple of helping hands this week, so we're going to get him through.
It takes a village.
Absolutely. Well, it's just so nice to walk into an environment where I don't have to have knives out already. It's so lovely to work with competent production, with a host that I both respect and admire, and has actual insights and knowledge in Ramon, as opposed to whatever the hell it is that Lucas and Robert don't provide to me for the course of my show. No, it's not fantastic. This is fantastic. What we do in the 3 hours after this, there's some level of, I don't think it quite holds a candle to the professionalism that is the morning crew, but we'll see if we can't cause some problems in the meantime with you guys. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. What is the value of a head coach to you? Now, this does not have to be specific to sport, though it does play a role depending on the sport that you're talking about. Basketball, coming off of last night's Western Conference Finals, OKC goes up 3-1 in that series, and there's questions to me about what is the value of a coach in that basketball series when your talent is so great that it allows you to maybe look a little smarter than you might actually be. And in the case of, for example, Brian Callahan with the Tennessee Titans, where your talent is so poor and you're trying to plug as many holes as humanly possible, but the dam breaks anyway and just absolutely floods in, you and your staff don't seem to be able to do too terribly much about it when you are already drowning that way as they were last season. We spent a little time talking about Tim Corbin and Tony Vitello coming off of the SEC tournament. Again, congratulations to Vanderbilt and the Commodores for outlasting Ole Miss in the SEC tournament and curb stomping Tennessee en route to doing exactly that. So I wonder, Ramon, from your perspective, having been in the NFL and been in the college game as long as you were, now being on the other side and still keeping interaction with those coaches and coaches at every level, right? Coming up with your boys and things like that too. I wonder how you view the impact of a head coach versus a position coach or a coordinator and the kind of value that they actually bring to a program, because something that came out of Calvin Ridley's youth camp this weekend was a lot of conversation about Brian Callahan's new approach to the offseason. I just think it's a fascinating dynamic to hear from professional athletes on.
It is, Buck. What does it mean? It means stability. The messaging being the same, and more than anything, Buck, the respect side of it too. And I'll add different avenues to it as it pertains to what it means. But the first part of it, stability. If you got a good head coach, that lets you know your team has a method of operating, which is what the Titans have lacked as of late, in my opinion, right? Callahan last year was trying to figure out. Before then, I felt like it was a Vrabel-led team, and you know what it looked like. But then there's also the messaging side of it, knowing how to communicate to the leaders. Those leaders pass that message down too. So now the locker room knows how to operate. Guys understand what it looks like to be player and force. And the last part, Buck, you mentioned something that made me write down another note was this, though. You said watching the NBA teams with the amount of talent that they have, how do you get the maximum out of them? But it's also a team like the Titans where you look at this talent and you say, whew, how you going to win games? What is Vegas predicting? 5.5 games or something like that?
5.5.
5.5 games.
And that's after the schedule release and the drafting of a quarterback number 1 overall. They were 5.5 before. They're 5.5 after.
So here's the difference I feel like when you have a good head coach. I speak directly on Coach Tomlin and Coach Former too. Those coaches made you feel like you was going to run through a wall for them. It's that part of it. It's where in the NFL where you have free agents or lower round guys like myself that ultimately believe, like that really believe they have a chance to make the rosters, because a coach like him can say something to you. Because here's the thing too, when you're coming up and you're playing sports and you have a good, respectful coach, a respectable coach in the league, you mostly believe anything he'll tell you, especially if they've won, because that lets you know that the idea of what he's telling you, the stuff that he's telling you, is going to lead to you either making a team or being successful. I will say directly, Coach Tomlin was one of those guys that led to my success. And not just me, it was other guys behind me too, like a Roosevelt Nix, who was an undrafted defensive lineman. Goes to the Falcons, get cut. He was the first cut on Hard Knocks. Come to Pittsburgh as a defensive lineman. They tried to move him to outside linebacker. He said, no, I'm going to put you at fullback. He became a Pro Bowl fullback, like in front of Le'Veon. That's what a good coach can do, is spot who needs to be where, how not to use a guy more than he is using them, and how to, honestly, Buck, trick the hell out of his team to win games. Because it be some times where I know we're not supposed to win football games. I know we're not supposed to compete with that team. And it's funny to say that as a player because you think you're always going to win. But, having Mason as a backup, Landry Jones as a back, Dennis Dixon. And it's the same standard week in and week out, no matter if it was Ben or one of the backups. And that's what a good coach do to you. That's why I say, it's awesome having, stars, but the core, as we call them, everybody else that plays a role, he makes those dudes feel like they're studs. Like I said last week, when Ron was in here on Friday, in big games, we play on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, don't matter. Big games, he turn off the lights and just simply say something like this. If you're an A player, I need you to show up. Then he say this little slick, I was about to cuss, this slick crap, okay? If you think...
You can't be the one to slip up. I'm already worried about this, all right? Morning radio is such a different world for me.
Yeah, man.
There are actually people in their cars who, are probably, I gotta be a little more careful than I do.
The kids are out of school, though.
When it's just my Uber drivers. That makes it worse. That makes it worse. You know how terrified I am that children listen to this crap? Not your crap, my crap.
But he would say this. He'd say, if you think you're an A player, and that's when it becomes personal to you, because what you mean I'm not an A player? Like, I ain't made no Pro Bowl, but damn it, I'm in this with you too. And that's where I feel like when you got the respect of a head coach like that, and they've also won, and their method is the same, and there's consistency, it's so easy to buy into that guy, though, Buck. That's why I think Vrabel captivated not just his team, but this fan base, because they saw that too.
And I know people recoil at the comparisons in particular, especially when Mike is made to look like some kind of war hero coming back to New England this year. And I was telling him that at owners' meetings this year in Palm Beach. Like, who the hell do you think you are going back to New England and being so? I never saw you on television this much for 6 years, you coaching the Titans. Now, before you go to New England, you're favored in 11 games in 2025 with that roster? Anyway, it's an entire mess. But I think from my standpoint, Ramon, I'm always interested to hear from you guys on that, because we have a certain level of access as media who cover teams, but there's always the dynamic of the meeting rooms, of the team meetings and things like that, the different tricks and tools of the trade that coaches use. Some to ill effect, some don't have that level of success. Some aren't authentic in the way that they approach it, right? Wasn't that the issue with all the Belichick acolytes that were supposedly supposed to be smash hits coming off that tree, whether it be McDaniels or Patricia or all these other Mangini, all these other people who tried to take, I'm sure you heard better stories than I did about that.
McDaniels too.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Messy. I'm talking about way too soon for him to have a job.
And sometimes that can be the case. Now, McDaniels obviously wasn't successful in multiple stops. Some people aren't cut out for the job, right? That's why I find Callahan such an interesting figure here. And we're going to hear some audio from Brian here in just a second, because I've only spent a year around him. I've gotten to know him a lot better, honestly, this offseason than I had at any point throughout the course of the regular season. First-time head coach. He's coming in. He's got a million other things to do, right? But you're trying to understand, as a purpose of covering their team, how it is, the people that orchestrate it and how they tick and how they work and how they break things down, how they try to motivate, how authentic are they? I genuinely believe him to be authentic. I'm just curious to see whether the methodology that he brings versus his predecessor is actually going to be successful here. And that's something he was asked about last week at a Tuesday press conference as we get ready to begin OTAs this week. They've restructured the offseason program and gone through a lot of different methods, pulled from a lot of different coaching trials and tribulations, essentially, to try and see if they can't formulate their own thing. Brian Callahan giving some surface level detail last week at the podium.
Yeah, we'll see if it pays off. I can't make any statements about anything paying off now. We'll see in September, October, and from then on. But I reflected really hard on what I wanted the offseason to look like. It is definitely structured much different, just in terms of what we're emphasizing and how we're emphasizing it, how we set up our competition amongst our team, how we're going about the team building process. All of those things have changed a little bit for me. Focusing a lot more on, the things that win and lose you football games at the end of the day. Things that the penalties, the negative plays, the turnovers, those are the things that, we're focused heavily on and trying to make sure we do a better job executing those things in the moment. There's a lot more to it I could talk about. I'd probably take up the whole press conference probably, but definitely changed a little bit of the philosophy and formula, and hopefully that pays off for us.
How can you influence those things in phase 1, phase 2, even phase 3 when you don't have contact and helmets? How can you influence negative plays and penalties?
You emphasize it like crazy. We spent a lot of meeting time wise, where we went wrong last year. We did the self-scout portion of it, the technique of things. But it's just the emphasis of it, making guys aware. At some point, I can take you guys through. Now probably isn't the perfect time for it, but just how we've set up the off-season program. I think guys have really bought into it. You can maybe ask them a few more questions. Maybe they'll give you some more insight. But how we set it up, we divided our team into competitive teams. We have 8 teams now that compete daily, which you guys have seen some of the stuff on social media, just post-practice competitions. There's points on the line for everything we do. So there's an emphasis daily, and there's negative points. So to your point, Paul, about how do you teach it? Well, if you jump off sides in a group drill, those are negative points for your team, and so it's emphasized every day. We look at it, we talk about it. It's on our players' forefront of their minds. So every time we step in the building, so those are the things we have to get better at for sure. On top of the scheme, but I'm excited about what we've done and how we've done it, and we'll see if it pays off.
That's Brian Callahan at the podium last week. Ramon, they are. And we did ask players follow-ups about this. And honestly, at the onset, they weren't too forthcoming with detail, but the only thing that they really seemed to care about was, it's a competition?
Yeah.
I'm going to go kick somebody's ass.
Yeah.
My team's going to win, not their team. As you see how much better we're going to be than these guys, even though they're on the same team, and finding ways to make the doldrums of the offseason, the voluntary stuff, something that, frankly, it seems guys almost have a little bit of FOMO about, I want to be a part of this thing too.
100%. It's so I was listening to him talking. This has to be his pathway into being a better head coach more than anything, because you hear him speak of this stuff. I wrote down it's pretty much 2 types of head coaches, I feel like, and maybe there's more, but it's the ones I think of. It's ones you fear. I think Coach Tomlin's like that. I think Vrabel's like that. Harbaugh, both the Harbaughs are like that. You fear them because you want to, because at any given moment they can fire you. They'll find another you, and they always say that type of stuff too, lightly. And then there's ones that I feel like you empathize with them and empathize with them. And I don't say that in the sense of they're soft or anything like that, but their success is based upon watching their baby be good. I look Andy Reid as being that way. People root for Andy, hearing them speak about Andy Reid, hearing Vic speak about him or T.O., they wanted Andy Reid to be successful because they knew in a world where it was dog-eat-dog that he had to be good, and it ate at him too. And I feel like that's the way Callahan is. He has to have success, and he can't just be a prick to teams either. I think what we saw last year with him lashing out at Levis was raw emotion. And I don't think he ever want to be that guy. And I've heard he's a savage too. But when you look at what he's trying to do, he's basically handing over the responsibilities of policing to the team by doing this competition, which is good because I saw somebody in the YouTube chat say this. It was they said after Vrabel left, it looked like the locker room standards and operation went to crap. And I don't think it was that. I do think Vrabel had an iron fist over almost everything, and you can go too far with that stuff.
No, frankly, I think Mike's biggest mistakes were how it trickled down into the locker room.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, your biggest mistake is trying to, I can't say those words on FCC Safe Radio, but essentially body up to your boss. You're not going to win that fight, especially when you're not winning football games. the way that they weren't at the end. But I mean, honestly, Ramon, there were certain elements, like there were just guys that were not his guys, and he was toxic with them.
And they've said that. Like, we've had Wesley Woodyard in there. He spoke about how Vrabel went at Jayon for tackling. Like, he dragged down tackle, which coaches hate that, especially physical coaches. But he got the job done. Callahan seems to be a guy that, look, if you get the job done, we're going to win. As long as you don't get outside the line, and you know why you won't get outside the line? Because I've given power to your teammates to check you if you do get outside the line. So I do think this is good for him. The best thing that Callahan needs to have go in his way to get more respect is to win. And that's where it becomes problematic looking at this roster. And I told you in our text, like, I'm very interested to see what all this means as far as the competition, as far as giving power to the locker room. And that's a good thing for the type of coach that he is, because he's got a bigger, I feel like, responsibility in figuring out the defense, the young quarterback, and special teams too. So I don't know if he's on the hot seat now, because being able to do all of this stuff that he's doing, the offseason, young quarterback and 4 quarterbacks on the team, but he's got to win, Buck. And I don't say empathize with him as a sense of he's weak or soft. I say it because I feel like when you got a coach like him, the players want that guy to be successful. So we're going to see if they actually follow the discipline and get coached up the way he wants them to also.
And how much that is actually able to elevate the current quality of roster that they have, right? Because, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, you try not to predetermine the results, especially in something that can have as much randomness as football does, as many different variables as football does, because they if they even get into more one-score games, the fact that they were just getting ass kicking after ass kicking, 7 different games, Ramon, they lost by 10 or more points last year. That doesn't happen in professional football that way. But if they can even get back and be more meaningfully competitive there, then I think it still probably depends on who you ask in that building as to how comfortable or how much backing somebody like Brian Callahan does. Because I do think it's dependent on, which person you're speaking to in that building.
From your knowledge, who's all his bad guys on the coaching staff? Denard?
It's for sure Denard. Ben Bloom is somebody, the outside linebackers coach, who is an accountability. I can't remember exactly what title they've given him. Ben Bloom, Randy Jordan, running back coach, and Denard Wilson.
Okay.
Those are more of the, for lack of a better term, ones tasked with policing the situation.
Yeah, belt to ass type of situations.
Belt to ass.
Because that's going to be necessary for him. With his lack of, I guess, head coach leadership is going to be necessary. Or either you jump on the scene like Sean McVay, right, and have high success. There's not many young coaches that come in and just get that bill of just, hey, yeah, we believe in trusting you, especially as bad as the season was last year. And it sucks, but this is a results-based league. The more you win, the more we respect you. That's why we love the greats, right? It's because they win.
He's Ramon Foster. You're not still drunk for Memorial Day weekend. Will Bowling is out on vacation this week. I'm filling in today. Brent Doherty tomorrow. Dawn will be in with Ramon later this week, as will Ron Slay. We got a rotating cast of characters helping out the big fella, fueled by, or rather brewed by, Scooter's Coffee. We'll get into some NBA. There was some results that are worth discussing in the Western Conference Finals last night. Your phone calls are welcome, 615-737-1045. This is Ramon and Will. I'm Buck Rising on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show, brewed by Scooter's Coffee. It's Ramon and Will. Will's on vacation this week. Buck hanging out here with the big fella, making it happen. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll leave Tweedledee and Tweedleditbleep to figure it out later from 10 to 1. It's so, like I said, it's just so nice.
I love it.
To enjoy working with competent, high-level professionals, and then we'll leave. As much as I do love my audience from 10 to 1, I'm just going to dump Lucas and Robert onto them later, and come what may. This is a much more enjoyable experience. I don't mind waking up.
I don't either. I never have, to be quite honest with you, because all my life since about like the 6th grade has been this.
Sure.
I'll never forget when I was about to take this job. I was like, you can do mornings? I'm like, listen, as long as I ain't getting up at like 4 in the morning every morning, and we're good to go. But
Speak for yourself.
Early. Listen, Jayhawk. Jayhawk's like, yeah.
I wake up at 3:45 every morning.
Oh.
I'm just so sorry. Oh. Is that difficult for you?
Kind of.
Oh, sweet angel.
As my mom would say, at least you're not digging ditches with a fork. It could be that.
Yeah, let me go find you a real job real quick. Please.
But
wake up at 3:45.
This is.
What time did you wake up today?
You get your day done.
I wake up, I Superman out of bed at about 4:30, and then. No, it's not. It's how the world works, and I don't need an alarm to get up. In fact, I beat my alarm by about an hour today, just in case. I only set an alarm to make sure that I was here on time for Ramon, because I like to make Lucas and Robert sweat a little bit. I think I got here at what, 5:58?
You were good.
We were making.
You walked in. It was like right almost at 6. It was close.
Man, I had no worries. I knew who I was dating this morning.
That's
okay,
all right.
I knew who was showing up. Yeah. You came with flowers and everything, Buck. That's what I'm saying. Like, put a smile on his face and fully clothed.
I like a little. Well, yeah. That's had it been Fox yesterday, where I knew I wasn't going to be on video and coming off Memorial Day weekend, there may have been a little less clothing. But,
man,
we find a way to make it work. It was an interesting game last night between OKC and the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll touch briefly on the NBA, given that we've got the conference finals going on all over the place. And my biggest thing, Ramon, was to see how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, MVP of the NBA this year, would respond after having a 14-point performance and an absolute ass-kicking in Game 3. The way that they responded last night, to the tune of 40 points for SGA, and the Wolves falling down 3-1 in that series. OKC continues to hold form, basically, outside of that Game 3. And I was just so fascinated to see the way that Shai specifically was going to respond, because I mean, personally, I was questioning it. The way that he plays is not my favorite. I know it's not about aesthetics. I know it's about the success. But I wonder what you make of how when you see players get their back against the wall, or get embarrassed. Speaking of a lack of clothing, get pants the way that SGA did in that Game 3, and respond the way, what that means to a team, especially when there are it's about as individual a team sport as you can have, because of the way that one player can influence the results in the NBA. You can't do that in football.
No, you cannot do that in football. That's one of the most unique things. You got one of them, and SGA is one of those types of guys. When he decides, to your point, Buck, flip the switch, this is what happens. He drops 40 points on you. And not just that, man, if you listen to him after Game 3, he was on the bench, I think, talking to one of the young guys, and he made a point, and I think it was for the world to hear, definitely, because he was mic'd up, but it was to also let Minnesota know, you're not going to out-physical us. If I'm not mistaken, his wording to his teammate was, if we come out and we do what we're supposed to do, and we play physical. He kept emphasizing the physical side of the game. He was like, and they shot well tonight, speaking of Minnesota in Game 3. And he said that they shot bad. Most times you hear, oh, it was us losing the game and not them winning it. You somewhat side-eye, but SGA was 100% correct. I felt last night that they were very physical with Anthony Edwards. I thought last night they did not let him breathe, and not just that, but the bigs in the paint for OKC, they got busy. Nothing was given last night, and they made Julius Randle look like a rookie. What was he, single digits last night, if I'm not mistaken, too? Like, it was their star showed up as far as OKC did last night, and Minnesota crapped the bed. We're talking about 4 points. 4 points in the first half again for Anthony Edwards.
That's crazy.
Like, they as talent, this is what we spoke about again with the Vols. Vols versus Vandy, right? Like, there's a lot of talent that Anthony Edwards has. But his ability to flip the switch each and every week, this is why when he had that conversation with Steve Kerr in his pre-draft about, hey, you're working hard, but I know guys that are great that work harder. Steph, KD, he watched Jordan. He told him this. I'm not sure what AE Anthony Edwards has to do to get over that hump to where he's an every game guy, because he's got some help. Well, Julius Randle didn't help yesterday, but he's got some help on that team to be able to drag everybody else to where he can get kickstarted. I do feel like, though, too, OKC, the rest of SGA's teammates freed him up. They allowed him to do his thing. And I don't know if Anthony Edwards get that type of assistance, which is why this game was a lot further apart than the final score indicated, too. They absolutely, I think, controlled it.
And to your point, this is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander speaking postgame with ESPN last night.
They were amazing tonight. They were confident. They weren't rattled by the moment. Like, there's so much to say about the work they put in, the effort and the character that those two guys have. They deserve these moments, and they're stepping into them with full confidence and taking advantage of them, and I'm nothing but proud of these two.
How were you able to keep your cousin from beating you guys?
Yeah, it was close to it. He had a hell of a game. They're a really good team, so you try to do a good job on their main guys, and their B, C, and D guys get off, and they're a really good team, and you got to try to do the job all the way around. And it's harder than it looks, but they're a good team. So guys are going to play well. We just have to figure out how to win, and we got to win tonight, so we're happy.
It was a good team win for OKC, and he's speaking there about his teammates Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. Jalen Williams had 34. Chet had 21. They got good points, good minutes from Alex Caruso off the bench. Just good team basketball.
It was. I love when players give up game plans, too. Hear what he said. He said, we shut down their A and B players, and their C and D got to pick it up, and that's exactly what they did. Anthony Edwards got nothing, and also Julius Randle got nothing.
5 points in 28 minutes is criminal. Get off the court.
I mean, seriously. I mean, and he said it. You can shoot. Cuzzo, go do your thing. Go get your bag while you at it, too. Score all the points you want to. But it won't be your stars, because if Anthony Edwards get going, then the entire team goes.
Yeah.
And that's what they shut down last night. Smart basketball last night.
All right, we're going to shut down this first hour. Not so bad. We got 3 more to go. We'll talk a little Titans with OTAs on the horizon. Mike Wilson will join us to bring back that Vanderbilt and Vols conversation coming off of Vandy's success in the SEC tournament. Congratulations to the Commodores fans. It's Ramon and Will Buck Rising filling in with you on this Tuesday morning on 104.5 The Zone.
It is 7:02 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Tennessee Titans are back on the practice field today, tomorrow, and Friday as OTAs are set to begin. In the SEC baseball tournament over the weekend, the Vanderbilt Commodores are the 2025 SEC champions after beating Ole Miss in the final 3-2 on Sunday and smacking Tennessee 10-0 in the semifinal Saturday. Vandy allowed just 8 total hits and 2 runs between the final and semifinal. Conference champions have now been crowned and the road to Omaha is set. Vanderbilt is the number 1 overall seed and will host the Nashville Regional starting this Friday with ETSU, Louisville, and Wright State in the regional. For the Tennessee Vols, the reigning national champs, they get the 14th seed and host a regional in Knoxville with Cincinnati, Wake Forest, and Miami of Ohio in their regional. Conference finals continue. In the NBA last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 1 win away from the NBA Finals after beating the Minnesota Timberwolves last night 128-126, leading the series 3-1. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the way with 40 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. In the NHL, the Carolina Hurricanes staved off elimination last night, blanking the Florida Panthers 3-0 behind goalie Frederik Andersen's 20-save shutout. The Canes are down 3-1. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's up on this Tuesday morning? Hope you had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Buck Rising filling in for Will Bowling. He's out on vacation. You know, Ramon Foster. He's holding it down for the real ones for the next couple of hours. We're going to get you through. 615-737-1045 is the number. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can live stream the show. The FNM Bank chat off and rolling. As we dive into a variety of different things, and we'll get to some Calvin Ridley audio here in just a second. He had a youth camp over the weekend, over the holiday weekend. Good to see Calvin giving back to the community. It'd be interesting to see who was going to kind of fill that void. D-Hop did a really good job during the short time he was here.
No doubt.
Engaging the city of Nashville, trying to provide opportunities for people in the city of Nashville, be it sports, honestly, music. He's just he has a very diversified portfolio that way. And to see Calvin Ridley getting engaged in the community, finding ways to give back as one of the primary players on this team. And a team that's kind of devoid of star power. It was cool to see. So we'll touch on that here in just a little bit.
Do you think there needs to be more of that, though, with this team? Because we had Cortland Finnegan on last week, and he said you don't see the guys out as much. You don't see the representation. Are they doing more than we just don't see here in the city?
I think some of those guys are.
Yeah.
And, I think that there are some of them who genuinely want to give back in a way that's quiet.
Okay.
But I don't think that it hurts things. You can do good, have it publicized, and it still accomplish what you need it to accomplish, which is, hey, we're going to find opportunities. We're going to find ways to give back in the community. This is your team. We want you to feel more engaged with it. We want to give you more connection points beyond you just expecting you guys to show up and watch us play on Sunday, because the product on Sunday has been cheeks and there's not a lot of reason to go and show up. So let's find other reasons for you to care about. And honestly, I know Jeffrey and I have had back and forths over the years, but I think Jeff has done a really good job as far as finding different ways as he's aged, and he's not an old player by any means. I think he's still under 30.
Yeah. I think, what is Jeff, 28?
He's probably 28, coming up on 29. But either way, I think Jeff has done a good job at being, kind of filling the void that Derek left as far as, all right, who's going to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate for this football team, and how many different ways can you find to give back? So we will dive into that a little later on the Calvin Ridley side of things, because there's also some good offseason notes to talk about.
28 at the end of July. Thanks, Jay Hawk.
So I wanted to ask Ramon about the players that he's most looking forward to seeing competing in the voluntary work, because this will be this is the next phase of the offseason. We're now entering into phase 3. There's been no competition type drills to this point. It's been individual. It's been technique. It's been basically an onboarding process for the NFL offseason. Now it starts to get a little more real, even though the pads aren't on just yet. So Cam Ward is the obvious.
Yeah.
the quarterback will be the one that we talk about the most. But what specifically from Cam are you looking for at this time of year before we talk about the rest of the roster?
Just how many mistakes he doesn't make. I think that's going to be key for him, like not turning the ball over, because I feel like that's always going to be something that hurts teams. If he can take care of the ball this time of year, because I'd expect Denard to light him up in practice. Like it's got to be an expedited process for Cam Ward, I feel like. And the more he can see up front and make those plays is when you start to get the belief behind your teammates. If I'm not mistaken, it was Peter Skoronski that spoke on him to Jimmy White right after he got drafted. And he said, what can he do for you, pretty much? He said, win football games. And I think that's huge as far as him getting the trust of those guys up front, because Buck, that H word, hope, goes a long way, man, with players. And not just that. When you feel like you have a guy that you can walk into, let's start at practice. Practice, we used to do what we call 7 shots. 7 plays by the goal line, and whoever's the best of win. You win 4, that's your series that you won. And if you can walk into those drills right there or in those 11-on-11s and you know you're going to compete against the defense, you get a whole lot of confidence of the guys backing you. And that's why I feel like his leadership as far as the playmaker that you want him to be can start to take over for him. So that's why I want to see. Lack of turnovers, no way, don't do that. And then, of course, his ability to command the respect of making plays from the rest of his teammates.
I thought it was fascinating to watch him just in the, we had, I think, 2 or 3 open practices here in the last couple of weeks to get to see him and the other rookies. They haven't opened practice up for us to watch the rookies and the vets together yet as they now prepare for this third phase of the offseason program. But to see him out there directing traffic right away, Ramon, like that's the expectation, right? That's the base level expectation from a player in that position. But just, hey, this is what I'm used to. This is how you're doing it. This is how we're going to try and compromise and meet in the middle. And talking to Alec Ironmanner and Chimere Dike and Gunnar Helm, the 3 new pass catchers that they've added. I'm sure Kalel Mullings will speak on some level of Cam Ward and his leadership dynamic once he's able to more fully participate in the offseason. But to see Cam take this thing by the reins, and he's just about the work, right? Like there's no offseason frills, and I know Will Levis is such an easy target, but there's no mayonnaise cologne. There's no, did your Snapchat get hacked type of situation. Like this is not yet anyway. Maybe we'll cross that bridge in another.
We'll wait on it. Too soon.
We'll plenty of time.
I mean, as many cameras as him and Shador had around, it might be something that'll leak out.
Yeah. Knock on wood.
Seriously.
You got to make sure your cyber security is up to date. But I think it's just so refreshing for the players as well, for the veterans as well, to have somebody that doesn't come in with the other, right? And frankly, I love that for Will too, because they need to make him look as viable as humanly possible to get his ass out of here as quickly as humanly possible before they turn things over in earnest to Cam Ward, because there's still value to be gained from Will Levis, even if he's not on the roster. And I know some people would advocate to keep him as a backup on this roster.
No doubt. And here's the thing, too. This is where Levis got to become a better pro, too, because here's what you learn in this league. This league is very unforgivable. It really is. Like, Will Levis has been tried. I mean, this is the way I look at this one. You were given the keys to the car. You were bad last year, and then immediately they go draft the number 1 overall pick at your position. He can cower, right? That's easy to do in this situation for a guy like Will Levis, because nobody's counting on him to do anything. He just go by the wayside and wait for his other team, or he can actually compete and push Cam and make himself better. Like, this may be, to your point, the best opportunity that Will Levis has to become an NFL quarterback, because you know the outcome that's going to happen. It's Cam's spot. But if you don't take advantage of, to your point, Buck, having the eyes off of you, to have the conversation not be about you and become a better quarterback, and not just that, display you being a better teammate too. Because the way it's going to be viewed to me as far as Will Levis until he gets the next opportunity, how good of a backup support are you? Like, that's the question he's going to have to ask. Like, can you make yourself a Mason Rudolph when nobody hears from you, but when it's time for you to answer the call, you do that? Can he be Chase Daniels? Right? Those are the questions he's got to ask himself. Or as high of a draft pick that he was, and the talent that he possesses, and how much he played, like, he's got to fall into the Jameis Winston conversation. And there's a lot of value in that. Those dudes are getting $5 million a year. And especially if he can come in and win you a game or two. I like this for Will. Like, I ultimately, like, you feel like he's probably not going to be here. But there's value into showing that you can be a great teammate and get better still.
And there's value for Cam to have somebody to legitimately push him, and Will is, the second most talented quarterback on the roster, respectfully to Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle. The other part of this that's fascinating to me, Ramon, is the way that it will start to inform the discussion ahead of training camp as to what they can still add in post-draft free agency on this roster. They added pass catchers. They did add one pass rusher. There are still options out there on the market. And I wonder, because understandably, players get drafted to come in here and take jobs from other guys. It's the kill or be killed mentality of professional sports, and nobody understands that. There's a lot of insecurity outside of professional sports. I've talked to you about the media world plenty of times. But
this was new to me. I know now.
No, you know that you were way more prepared than any actual broadcaster coming into this world, because you understand this environment, and athletes understand this environment better than most. But as a player, looking at the competition that the coaching staff and the front office tries to create internally, and how you kind of view the idea of, all right, we've brought in a bunch of rookies to help at least build up the floor of this thing, but we are also trying to support our young quarterback. How much can you all, the young guys, show us at this time of year? Femi Oladejo, DK, Helm, all these other guys that we've mentioned, versus, well, Cam Ward needs as much support as humanly possible in year one. There is still Amari Cooper out there. There is still a Keenan Allen out there. It may be a cost-benefit analysis being had in the building as to, all right, what helps Cam right away the most versus, okay, are we going to let these guys work out the kinks, these young guys work out the kinks in real time, and try not to rob them of developmental stuff that bringing in a vet would absolutely do?
Man, legitimately, they have to become thick as thieves. It's a little bit of what LeJairus, I know we'll get to his conversation, but Calvin, but it's a little bit what Calvin was saying. Like, that rookie group, I feel like, man, just looking at the way they drafted, their personalities, their backgrounds and stuff like that, leaders, mature, professional. It's the way I look at them. If that group right there with the receivers included can become I'm going to just throw a gang, a crew, a set, whatever you want to call them to show. Moving forward in 2025, this is the future. Maybe not all those guys make the team, but the idea that they're resetting with playmaking from the young fellas, supporting Cam too, because it does become a little bit of the vets versus the young guys in a sense too. And as quick as that group can put it in their minds that they're going to grow up together, make plays and start taking reps. You talk about Gunnar Helm taking reps from Chig. Like, you see Alec Ayumaner starts to get 1 reps. That helps Cam because those guys are going to directly be in group chats with him. They're going to talk to him. They're walking that same pathway, too. As a rookie, sometimes in that league full of grown men, guys that's been around and may just be worried about their checks. Like, those guys somewhat, they'll talk to you but not give you everything. Like, Cam's in a unique situation because he's a quarterback and Calvin needs him, Tyler Lockett needs him, all those types of conversations. But that young guy communication of just, bro, we got this. Watch us do work. That's something I know we did coming up when the offensive line was reshaping itself in Pittsburgh. It became myself, DeMarquise, and Marcus Gilbert. And then we moved a little bit different than the guys before us. It wasn't that we were, different, but it was a different phase for us. It
informed your experience.
Yes, very much so, Buck. And that's why I feel like seeing the success of this rookie class could reset a lot of what Callahan is trying to do with the reinforcement of the vets, too. And that's why I think these one-year contracts are doing very similar to what Washington did last year.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in on the conversation. We're going to pivot to some SEC baseball coming off the weekend for Vanderbilt and the Vols, both exciting on the one hand and disappointing on the other. We'll do that with Mike here in just a second before we pivot back to some football discussion. I'm going to remind you that 104.5 The Zone bringing back the Split Happens Bowling Bash. Special guests, listeners going to be involved Thursday, June the 26th at King's Dining and Entertainment in Cool Springs. You can join us for a fun night of bowling with food, drinks, prizes, and more, all to help benefit the wonderful folks at Home Street Home, very near and dear to my heart. Admission is free. RSVP now at 1045thezone.com today. So it was a great weekend for Vanderbilt. It was a less successful weekend for Tennessee. We're going to talk to Mike Wilson of the Knoxville News Sentinel. Boots on the ground reporting coming up next.
We love being part of the moments that matter, which is why we're announcing employee pricing for everyone. You pay what we pay. Employee pricing at Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned, American made.
Gotta have a little Al Green on a Tuesday morning. Welcome back to the show, brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Buck Rising hanging out this morning. Don't worry, just one day. Gonna turn it over to the professionals the rest of the week. Brent will be in with Ramon, and then Dawn, and then Slay, I believe, is the rotation on this short week. A little different flavor for you every day, big fella. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go. I don't know how this is going, but we're gonna make it.
It'll be fine as long as we don't say the words that get us in trouble. Most of everything else is doable.
Oh, but I want to.
You get a sophisticated group in the morning. You get them too. So we got a total line.
Sophisticated.
That's very true.
I'm out here tooth and nail with this damn F&M Bank chat each and every day. But they need it. They don't want you on that wall. They need you on that wall.
See, these are the things that get me going in the morning. But this is what gets me going. Only one cup of coffee, and you've had none.
Oh,
you don't do coffee?
I like coffee later in the day because I've got prime time at 7:00, and so by not that I already bitched at Justin about complaining about, oh my God, I gotta wake up so early. But a little late afternoon, little espresso, nothing in the morning. This is all natural, baby.
No doubt about it. Yeah, we're good to go. Let's lock in.
Speaking of which, Mike Wilson of the Knoxville News Sentinel is hanging out somewhere in the internet ether, I do believe. There was interesting results in the SEC tournament. Vanderbilt successful, obviously, winning the SEC tournament over Ole Miss, but just brutalizing Tennessee en route to doing just that. Mike joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. Michael, tell me what it was like to cover that run rule after seeing Tennessee start to ramp up, it felt like, in this tournament after a sluggish end of the regular season. Good morning, by the way.
Yeah, I'm bringing the sophistication to the show this morning is my stance on this. That's what we'll go with. The run rule is kind of wild. The way that Tennessee played against Alabama and Texas was maybe its most impressive back-to-back performances of the season, certainly in the back half of the season. So seeing a team string together, probably its two best games and then come out and lose the way they did was kind of shocking, but that's also been a thing for Tennessee. Just a lack of consistency. They haven't seemed to always string a good thing into a second good thing, which is why that Texas win was so notable to me, as they took that Alabama win and then had an even better one the next day. But then you come out against Vanderbilt and get beat 10-0. So it's just hard to know sometimes what you think you're going to see from this Tennessee team.
Mike Wilson, what is a Knoxville Sentinel? With that being said, though, I saw you reposted it also. ESPN's Mike Rooney says, Tennessee, I still believe, is the most talented team in the country. Mike, what does that mean, especially whenever you get run rule like that and the lack of series that they won going down the stretch in SEC play? How is that still the case, and why do you believe that, or why do others believe it?
Yeah, I think the important part of that, and this was something it seemed that the Twitterverse struggled with yesterday, there's a distinction between most talented and best team. And Tennessee, when you talk about MLB talent, might have the most talent in the country. There are a lot of expected high draft picks in the 2025 MLB draft on this team. And that's part of where some of that frustration probably lies with the results, which it's still a good season so far. They're still a regional host. It's not like Tennessee missed the tournament. It's not like Tennessee flubbed after winning the national championship, which has happened many times. But it is a talented roster, and that's why you would expect some of the results to be different. But there's just tight games that haven't gone their way for their faults, the other team outplaying them, about whatever reason you can think of. But realistically, and this is to some extent putting some lipstick on a pig, but if a couple games go a different way, I mean, you look at the LSU opener, for example, the vibe around this Tennessee team is probably pretty different. If they'd won that series in Baton Rouge by not blowing that first game, there's a different vibe. So some of those games needed to be won, but now you're in the time of year where you better win those games instead of lose them like Tennessee has.
When you look at real quick what Tony V said after the game, Tony Vitello said after the game, when he said, it was a bad itinerary by him, he took a lot of the blame. What does the bad itinerary side of it means for a coach that's playing against Vanderbilt like that?
Yeah, I think someone asked him a follow-up on that, and he was kind of like, it's just an early morning, and wasn't – I don't know how serious he was with that comment in the end, but he felt like the energy was good. It seemed like coming to the ballpark, but in watching that game, I I mean, it was kind of the bad version of Tennessee coming back around. It was, you get 2 leadoff walks to open the game and you don't score a run. That can't happen. You get thrown out at home trying to steal a run in a 7-0 game. Well, you need a big inning. You don't need 1 run. Error at shortstop in a 5-0 game extends an inning and 2 more runs score. And now you're down 7-0. It was more to me the on field than anything else, just based on what I watched. And yeah, it's kind of a compilation of a lot of the mistakes that have cost Tennessee at times this year kind of all came to a head at once against a really good Vanderbilt team that consistently plays good baseball.
Mike, to that point, as you watch the differences between Vanderbilt and Tennessee, and obviously you've seen them in that series during the regular season, of which Vanderbilt had success, and Tennessee held to a different standard now once you start to associate them as national champions, right? You move differently. We move differently around you. We talk about you differently because you've raised the level of expectation. That's a place that most coaches will tell you that they want to exist. I wonder how, given the extent of time that you have had with this program and covering the entirety of it, with Tony Vitello at the helm and seeing all the different ebbs and flows of what his tenure there has been, how much of this is things just starting to fray? Because winning championships is difficult. You're playing more baseball than the vast majority of teams, obviously, at that point. And even the greatest will start to see some things start to fall off because it's exhausting. Not to make excuses for them, but I wonder how much of this is just natural residual effect from what the aftermath is after you win that championship, especially that first one.
Well, to me, a lot of the perception of this team has to be put in light of the last 3 seasons of Tennessee baseball. They won the national championship last year, first SEC team to win 60 games in a season. That's historic. And not to mention the talent on that team that went pro after the season. Went to the College World Series in 2023, 2022. You could still argue might have been Tony Vitello's best team at Tennessee, even though it didn't even reach Omaha because it lost Notre Dame in the Super. This team doesn't look like the 22 and 24 teams looked in terms of just being absolute world beater, dynamos, everything. And I think some of the perception is shaped by how easy those teams made it look to win. It's not easy to win baseball. Baseball is a game where you make one tiny mistake, you're losing the game. And Tennessee's had a lot of those this year. More than they're used to seeing. So I think in large part, it has to be put in perspective of those seasons. It also has to be said, winning a championship's hard. Defending a championship is also really, really hard. Being able to go out there and be that team with the target. And also in this case, being a very new team as well, because there's not a lot of holdovers from that team. I think that's hard. And I think maybe as a program, Tennessee's found out that it's hard to be on top of the mountain and try to stay there. And maybe that's even harder than getting to the top of that mountain in the first place.
Many people are alleging that Will Bowling went into hiding today after watching his baseball team get curb stomped, and that's what I'm doing here, which is not true, but delights me either way because I know that had to eat. I saw Will tweeting through it on social media. God love him, and that's okay. As somebody whose favorite sports team has caused them nothing but agony in their lives, it's all right. It's going to be okay. But I just feel there's a bit of cowardice in that. Don't you agree, Mike?
I don't know. Vacations sometimes are pre-planned. I took a vacation and missed Tennessee series at Arkansas, so I don't know that I'd call myself a coward as much as a smart man who spent a week in Hilton Head.
That was your chance right there, Mike. You could have just curb stomped Will right there to the beach this morning, man. You let us down.
No, that's fine.
It's strictly out of respect for Peyton Kennedy that I'm not stop Will Bowling.
Well, that's fine. I'm going to give you the opportunity to do it to somebody else now because it's my understanding that Lucas also tried to book you in my absence from the radio show today, and you told him no. But when I texted you after the fact, you are so gracious and kind to appear on this radio show, and I'm going to take that as a personal victory.
You should. Yeah, Lucas did originally ask me, and I did turn him down. I declined his advances for good reason. I believed I had housework being done this morning, but rainy weather changed that, and you happened to slide into my text messages at the right hour, so you got lucky.
Nah.
You up?
You up.
Like 7 p.m.
Hey, sometimes it's like that Memorial Day weekend. You don't know who's out in the streets in the middle of the day. Mike Wilson, Knoxville News Sentinel, here with us on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, big head, but Mike, man, with the Super Regional coming up, this isn't going to be an easy feat for the Vols, man. Specifically, Wake Forest. Considering Chase Burns went there last year, they have a whole program of. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's the pitching lab. And the only reason I bring that up is because listening to Coach Tim Corbin afterwards, he spoke about Vanderbilt's pitching and the way they pitched and how much spin rate they had on the ball. And I know these are things that a team like Wake Forest works on and specialize in. And it seems to me, to your point about staying good, what you just told Buck, that Tennessee's reputation is to hit bombs. And if you got a good pitching staff, that can be very problematic, as we saw the 10-0 run rule by Vanderbilt. How is this matchup with Vandy's going to look in Knoxville?
You know, I think Wake Forest this year might be a little more predicated on hitting. I like their offense. Merrick Houston's awesome. They've got some good bats. They got a good starter. I don't think the pitching staff's necessarily where it's been. I mean, you especially look back at the 2023 Wake Forest team that was loaded up with pitching. It's not that. And, you know, people talk a lot about the Wake Forest pitching lab. I mean, Tennessee's put out plenty of pitchers on its own. I mean, Frank Anderson might be the best pitching coach in the country. They use all the same data in TrackMan, spin rate, vert, like anything that's out there. Tennessee's got access to that as well. And Frank Anderson's been doing it for a long time at a really high level. So I don't know if Wake Forest is a pitching lab. Tennessee might be the pitching farm at this point. So it's a good matchup. I think the regional draw as a whole is pretty nice for Tennessee. I thought Ryan Shumpert kind of broke it down nicely yesterday on Twitter in terms of the RPI of the teams in it. It actually might be the easiest regional draw that Tennessee's had in the last 4 years, even better than some they had as the number one seeds in 22 and 24. But that's the upside of getting into that host conversation. That's a really important part of that. And Tennessee's wins in Hoover probably cemented that. And that's why that little run there, even though it ended really badly, was still so important, is because it put Tennessee in that mix right away to host it at Lindsey Nelson Stadium.
How expensive the ticket's going to be? Because it's got to be up there. Everybody want to see this team somewhat turn it around. Do you think it's going to be chaotic for almost any fan base walking in?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the brand. And it has been a little bit of a dip in terms of the success at home this year. So I'm sure these fans are rabid to see the success now. And I mean, Tennessee's been undefeated at home in regionals. They're 9-0 at Lindsey Nelson Stadium in the regional round under Tony Vitello. So, I mean, this fan base is special at baseball games, man. It's a rowdy environment. It's, you know, the way they built the new stadium, the students down in that corner there. I mean, everything they got going on. It makes for a really special environment. But that's what you expect this time of year in the SEC when a team's hosting postseason baseball. It's a different animal, and that's why the regional host kind of geography there shows mostly teams in the Southeast.
Yeah, I wonder though, Mike. So you don't feel like, and obviously Vols fans show up. That's what they do. It's one of the most unique things about them. But you don't feel that there's any lost juice from getting smacked around by Vandy the way that they did heading into this thing?
Nah, I don't think so. And I mean, to Ramon's point, the ticket prices reflect that already. I mean, the secondary market looks gnarly already. So, nah, I don't think there's going to be a dip or a lull or any sadness, I guess. I mean, Will Bowling sadness. I don't know. Going into this, it's just a
convenient time for a vacation, always. Michael. That's just very, very convenient time for a vacation. It's like Lucas used to take off the week of Tennessee-Alabama football because he's so used to getting his face stomped in by Nick Saban.
You know, we all need a break sometimes, and selective vacations can be a good thing.
It can be, Mike. It can be, man. It depends upon the weather, though. I think they got rain down there, so it's not really much better than getting your face kicked in on the
beach. Well, nothing's better than having Mike Wilson hang out with us, especially when I can do it, when Lucas already asked him, and he said no. Mike Wilson, @by Mike Wilson is where you follow him. KnoxNews.com is where you can read all his coverage. Always good to see you, buddy. Likewise. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Appreciate it.
Mike Wilson there with us on 104.5 The Zone. And that's what you expect from Tennessee fans, right? That's one of their hallmarks. And they have created one of the most hostile environments, home field environments in college baseball that way.
Man, college baseball in general is just doing that different, man. Have you seen Clemson's or ECU's Birch School bullpen warm-up area? They are South Carolina's bad, too.
Yeah.
They are putting the fans directly next to the bullpen as they warm up. It is as toxic as you can get. Screw legitimately just yelling. No, get next to them. Call ball. Call strike. Man, it is – college baseball is a different world. It is a different animal because you got the frat side of it and fan side of it too. It is a different crowd. I absolutely love going to games.
No, it's one of the most unique things about, because I mean, frankly, I've never been that big of a baseball fan my entire life, and I have been in, and we've just got great college baseball here in the state of Tennessee, right? So it's very easy to get behind both programs when they're having that level of success and to see that level of atmosphere and arguably one of the best rivalries in college baseball, obviously Vanderbilt getting the better of Tennessee over the weekend. Speaking of getting the better of something, there is one national voice out there that has presented an opportunity for the Titans to make the playoffs. We're going to react to that coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Pretty good Scooter's Coffee. Maybe I should have had some before I came in here. I think we're working with enough juice.
Oh, we're good. I saw my guy Robert Burdamus a second ago, okay?
Yeah.
I just made his first name a last name, just so you know, Robert Burdamus. But what a comeback,
Burdamus.
Bird. I mean, Buck, I called you Bird. I should leave.
Not all white people look the same, Ramon. Stop it.
That is on me. That is on me.
Stop it. Just because Lucas tried to make you slay the other day.
I heard him, by the way.
Nothing makes me more uncomfortable or makes me more comfortable than making Lucas uncomfortable.
You know what? There's a saying, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Lucas could never.
No. Couldn't possibly.
Never.
Couldn't possibly, but it's okay. I forgive you.
He's by far one of the more loose, button-up guys I've ever met in my life. Like, if you meet him, Luca's like a cool dude. Like, yeah. But then it's time to flip the switch, and he's a different human being.
He wants to be respected as a professional broadcaster, and I refuse to let him have that.
That's real.
Yeah,
you need friends like you.
Who doesn't like to see their friends fail every once in a while? So we are going to turn things over to the two idiots later. They're going to have to carry my water because I'm not doing 7 hours of radio today. They don't pay me enough to do that. But I am interested in hearing Ramon Foster's thoughts on this Colin Cowherd audio that Justin pulled for us, because apparently Cowherd is spouting off about Cam Ward taking the Titans to the playoffs in year one.
There's 4 people, and only 4 in my opinion, that will change outcomes. Number 1 is Cam Ward, Tennessee. They were so hard to watch offensively, where even games they outplayed teams, Tennessee was so bad at quarterback with Will Levis. They lost games where they out-physicaled, out-schemed, and outplayed teams. Cam Ward is accurate, moves, coachable. I mean, Miami's had some good quarterbacks. He broke all the Miami records. There's a history of this league when guys come in without a lot of stars and without a lot of pats on the back. Nobody's pandering to them. That's jet fuel. So I think Cam Ward changes outcomes. I think Tennessee's going to be a playoff team.
Colin Cowherd also still drunk from Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, he had
Playoff.
He had a few. Because there's a lot being put on a guy like Cam Ward that did not get the fanfare from the league or all the big networks in general. Hearing that conversation by Cowherd is fascinating, because the way I feel about Cam Ward leading the Titans to the playoffs is anybody but him. And I say that to say this. The way Callahan has spoken about Cam Ward, the way they let Will Levis call his shots, I feel like last year, I don't see that being the case this year. I see Cam Ward being more in a box, everybody else doing a little bit more than they have in other places. Like, I look at Zeitler being more vocal. I look at like J.C. Latham having a bigger year. I look at Dan Moore having to step all the way up, but not just that. I look at the size of Bones Fossil and the special teams. That not being an issue. If you clean it up, yes, there's a better pathway to making the playoffs, or at least winning the AFC South to get into the playoffs, right? If you have a better defensive front to where you can get after the quarterback, right, then you have a better chance of getting the ball back to the offense and letting it do its own thing. And I don't say that as a slight to Cam Ward. I say that in a sense of let him properly grow up. If Cam is doing electric things, it won't be called. If he gets to a point to where he's comfortable in this offense and he can freestyle, get out of the pocket and do that little sidearm, the same way I feel like Jaden Daniels captivated the league last year when he just strike out and run, that wasn't called. Like, Cam's going to have to follow the playbook, I feel like, more with where this squad is because of the talent. And it's not that the talent is bad. It's just unknown how Tyler Lockett looks in Nashville. It's unknown if Calvin Ridley can be a true number 1 here in Nashville. It's unknown if Tajay and what's his name can be really good running backs,
Pollard.
right? Yeah, Tony Pollard. Like, that's the side of, and it's unknown if this offensive line can be better than it was last year. So Cam getting this team to the playoffs, I think, is everybody else but him. He just can't mess it up.
And it's going to be fascinating to me, because the thing that Callahan has brought up with us most often, both publicly and privately, frankly, is this player has not necessarily brought to, or has had to implement at this stage of his career prior to becoming a pro, the ability to play with timing and rhythm. He has such an innate feel of how to manipulate the pocket, about how to wheel out and make a play down the field, of where his guys are going to be with the timing and the rhythm of it, but without it is such a different level of specificity at the NFL level that you want to bring that organic playmaking to the table. Obviously, there are some of these things that he is going to do that simply cannot be coached or cannot be taught because he's got special ability that way. But the special ability cannot be relied on down in and down out, cannot be expected down in and down out. The rest of it has to be so much more routine. And the thing that you like about Cam Ward, or at least that I enjoy about the Cam Ward experience, Ramon, you tell me how you feel about this, is the idea that he's not one of these Elite 11 automatons. Like, he didn't come up as one of these conveyor belt quarterbacks where they all look the same and they all play the same and they've all got the same mechanics. Now,
same thing said about him from all the guys that attended. Yep.
Correct. The footwork is different. The arm angles are different, right? This is somebody who is athletic and gifted enough to play the quarterback position without trying to manufacture the quarterback position. There are things, though, that are going to have to be implemented into his game before he can truly elevate them the way that the expectations of a number one overall pick should mean that you're going to elevate the rest of your team. It's so much less sexy than the rest of it, though.
I promise you. But if you finally let it grow and mature and water that seed, right, that's when you turn it, because that's when you turn to the guy, because a lot of people look at what Patrick is, right? And you say Patrick, you know the name. He had a whole year of no pressure. He diced up his defense in practice, right? You look at Jaden Daniels' situation. They got a college coach that's fitted an offense to allow him to flourish. And also, I don't think many people were high on what Jaden could do as a pro until he showed them, I'm really a 4-3. I really can make plays down the field. I'm a little bit tougher. Then you started to believe a little bit more. I'm with you exactly to that point right there. Like, to expect Cam to come out and have the red flag and the Bulls just running through it and he's a matador? No. Let him walk this pathway, because I feel like there'll be a little bit more PTSD with Coach Callahan, because I do feel like last year that he allowed Levis to do what he wanted to do. He believed the player more than he believed his system. And that's why I think you'll see this year there'll be a short leash with Cam so that he can get the system down, because what do most coaches tell you in sports? Go back to your basics, your technique. That's what's going to save him, because you're right. The quirky stuff that he has, how you get out of the pocket, sidearming, throwing motion, all that type of stuff, you'll see that once you get that baseline done.
I just want them to be in the hunt. And I like the Cowherd thing is interesting, and it's going to get impressions and it's going to get views, and that's the game that he's in, and that's fine. I completely understand that. I want the Titans to be in the hunt at the end of the year, to be in the graphic. Make the graphic make me think that, seriously.
It matters, though, as players.
It matters.
Yes, 100%.
It matters, because that means that there has been production. That means that there has been growth. That means that either the system is taken to Cam or Cam is taken to the system, or there's a good enough marriage between the two that coach and player and coach and roster have found compromise to where this thing has the bones, the foundation to be successful. Jaden Daniels has warped expectations. C.J. Stroud has warped expectations. Hell, even Herbert coming in here and setting records as a rookie the way that he did, even if it wasn't on the best Chargers football team in his rookie season, have warped expectations. And I like that there are expectations for Cam. I want them to be earned, though.
You'll see, I think a lot of people see the finished product of what Josh Allen is now, and not realizing it took him 2-3 years to get to this point too. Like, that's my expectation, to be quite honest, with what Cam Ward's first year or so could look like. He was bad at turnovers. He was bad at decision making. Nobody speaks about that with Josh Allen as much, because he made it exciting. Like, if Cam don't got the body,
and also the alternative was Nathan Peterman.
That's also
Peterman running around out there.
We also got Levis Man here,
Mayo Man.
Mayo Man, yeah, he actually got.
What a terrible superhero, Mayo Man.
And depends on what kind you bring to the cookout. You can get kicked out of the cookout for the types of mayonnaise you bring.
No, you don't come in there with that low fat mayo.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are we doing here?
No,
Miracle Whip.
It's got to be the diesel.
Heavy eggs.
615-737-1045 is the number. Speaking of heavy, Nashville, it's more than just a match. It's the countdown to history. On June the 10th, the U.S. men's national team takes on Switzerland in the Coca-Cola send-off match, their final test before the summer's premier regional tournament kicks off just 4 days later. Tickets start at just $35. You can get yours now at Ticketmaster or at 1045thezone.com today. So we're talking a little ball With Ramon, let's keep that theme on the Titans and hear from Calvin Ridley, his feedback on Brian Callahan's revamped offseason approach. That's coming up next.
It's a great time to shop Genesis Diamonds now before tariffs cause price hikes on imported diamonds and jewelry. It's Ramon Falston. Genesis is not raising prices on the pre-tariff inventory, so all in-stock merchandise is an incredible value right now. Genesis has prepared for the tariffs and made a lot of overseas purchases way in advance. Handcrafted rings, exquisite diamonds, colored gemstones, and a ton of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches. If you've got a special occasion coming up in the next 6 months or so, you need to get to Genesis now before the pre-tariff merchandise is gone. Genesis is always going to be the value leader here, regardless of what happens in the world. They were built on that foundation, but it's way beyond price. It's also their selection, their quality, their outrageously good customer service, their industry-leading warranties. And don't forget, Genesis is the exclusive retailer for all the top names in bridal jewelry, the brands other stores only wish they could get. Genesis Diamonds, where you always get more for your money, but especially right now. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. It's 8:02. I am Justin Hawkins. T-minus 100 days until the start of the 2025 NFL season, and the Tennessee Titans today, tomorrow, and Friday are back on the practice field as OTAs begin for Phase 3 of the offseason. In the SEC baseball tournament over the weekend, the Vanderbilt Commodores are the 2025 SEC champions after beating Ole Miss in the final 3-2 Sunday and smacking Tennessee 10-0 in the semifinal on Saturday. Vanderbilt allowed just 8 total hits and 2 runs between the final and semifinal. And conference champions, they have been crowned, so the road to Omaha is now set. Vanderbilt is the number 1 overall seed, and they host the Nashville Regional starting this Friday with ETSU, Louisville, and Wright State in their regional. For the Tennessee Vols, the reigning national champs get the 14 seed, and they'll host the regional in Knoxville with Cincinnati, Wake Forest, and Miami of Ohio in their regional. Conference finals continue tonight with Game 4s. In the NBA, the Indiana Pacers, who have a 2-1 series lead over the New York Knicks, they host at Gamebridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. tonight on TNT. In the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers are trying for their 3rd straight win against the Dallas Stars and take a 3-1 series lead. Puck drop tonight at 7 p.m. on ESPN in Alberta. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning. Welcome in. Welcome back. If you've been kicking it with us so far, maybe you're surprised. That's okay. Change good for you every once in a while. You're going to get a lot of change this week. Will Bowling is out on vacation, so the big fella needed a hand.
Yay.
Got me sitting in today. You got Brent tomorrow, Dawn on Thursday, and Slay guest hosting on Friday. Will be a great time had by all. Ramon, I appreciate you letting me kick it with you for a couple more hours here, and then we'll see how Robert and Lucas embarrass themselves without me to carry their water yet again.
Bert's in here with a friggin' 3-button shirt on, man, which is nuts to me. Every time he put on clothes, I ask the question, like, what you got going on, sweet cheeks? You know what I'm saying? Just really, like, trying to figure out why you got on, like, a formal set of clothing, sir.
The tell is closed-toed shoes with him. I was unaware that he owned a pair of shoes that were not Croc branded. In fact, I'm frankly shocked that he's sticking to branded Crocs as opposed to off-market Crocs and things of that nature. But yeah, we have a meeting with the suits today at 11, so he had to put on, now there's stains all over it, God knows.
Yeah, 100%.
He's only got the one shirt that's got buttons, and God knows those buttons are holding on for dear life at this point.
I was going to say, there's only one button that's attached at this point, too. So, but he's my guy. He knows that, too, and I know he's yours, but hey.
Oh, I took him out and got him drunk a couple of weeks. It was after the install after the fact, and while his eyes were looking at 2 different directions and he was smoking 3 cigarettes at once, he looked at me and he said, "I just want you to know, buddy, that I love you." And I said, "I'm going to remember that for the rest of the time. I'm not going to say it back. Just know."
Hey, listen to me. Bert in public, Bert late at night, and Bert with a group of friends, you don't get so much truth out of him. He told me the same thing in Long Beach at Savage's wedding, man.
Well, in fairness, at that wedding, we were all on enough Don Julio to say, I'm telling everybody I love him.
100%.
Even Dawn tried to put a cigarette out on me at some point, and I still said, maybe that
Get
added
over
a
here,
little.
Buck. Give me a Get over here.
God love Travis. I don't know how he does it.
Man, just a guy. That's all, man.
The man.
That's the man,
The
dog.
absolute man.
We were speaking of that last week. Like, I think it was when you were walking out. Like, we need another Long Beach session. Savage. We need another Long Beach late night session.
Well, who's up next? It's got to be Robert if he finally grows a spine and proposes.
Well, it's up due soon, probably next year sometime.
Yeah. Lucas's wedding is planned for Brazil in like 2028. The stadium is going to open before Lucas gets married.
Like, you don't have to be buttoned up in life, Lucas. Like, you can have a messy wedding, okay? Like, you don't have to plan it out. What are you doing?
Speaking of planning things out, that's exactly what Brian Callahan is done with this offseason program. He's revamped it, and we're waiting to see what residual effects it ends up having. Now, some details here that I'm going to share with you that you weren't able to get from Brian Callahan's press conference because I did a little digging, and I've got some notes to go through with you. But I want you to hear from Calvin Ridley first, Ramon. This is from, I think, Saturday. He was hosting a youth football camp. here in the city and did a little bit of media availability and was asked specifically about the work that the Titans coaching staff has put into this offseason program. Here's the Titans wide receiver 1.
Competing. We're competing in everything we do at work right now. And I think it's great. I think it's so fun. I'm a captain on my team. I got my boys behind me. And I'm telling them every day. I'll be messing up sometimes, but I tell them every day, man, we're trying to win. We're trying to win. And it's only just making us closer. I swear, it's really working.
Only just making them closer. Ramon, that I love Calvin.
I love that beep sound right there. That's so good.
I'm so glad I caught that.
Thank you, Calvin.
Oh, yeah. What else are you going to do? Let it go?
I thought about it.
So glad you caught that.
You thought about
what else are you doing back there?
Sometimes I just record and let it go. And not pay attention.
What a thing to say into a microphone for people to hear you.
Yeah. Hey. Now everybody's going to be trying to take your job. I can just do what he does. Just punch buttons.
Maybe don't expose to the world that half the time you just don't do your job. Some life lessons here.
Hey, did he cut my mic off?
He didn't cut mine off. Mistakes on you, big boy.
When you punch buttons.
See?
Sometimes you accidentally hit the wrong one.
Okay. All right.
Well, hit enough wrong ones, and then you'll be on my S list the way that Robert and Jackson are.
Let's see. We're close.
So, Calvin Ridley, motivated by the competitive nature of the offseason program, finding ways to make the boring stuff fun, right? Yeah. Getting the best out of the professional athletes. But I want to get back to the thing about bringing themselves closer as a team, Ramon. This locker room, to me, from my perspective, and I know guys would push back on us when we would ask them questions about this throughout the course of the regular season, but they felt like they just threw a bunch of pieces and parts together and figured at some point that it would coalesce. And now the coaching staff is having a more hands-on approach on, okay, do you actually know your teammates? If you don't, let us give you the opportunity to maybe foster some more of those relationships, no pun intended, and see how much closer you can bring these guys together. Not that dudes weren't doing their job, but it makes it a lot easier to play for one another when you just know one another better.
100%. It makes it, more than anything, Buck, it makes it easy to challenge your teammates. If you got a very open and honest team and the ability to be very transparent, it can take you further because you don't feel like nobody's lying to you. The method that you're using to coach and build a team is actually going to work. And Calvin had more to say after that, too, as far as, he's like the good teams, they are around each other often. They know each other's kids. They know each other's families. They know each other. And I feel like when you got a good team, it's easy to be around your people like that. You're not in a hurry to go home. Buck, you've covered this team when it was good also. When you were in that locker room, they were shooting basketball in there, playing pool or just messing around, blasting music. Yeah, ping pong, right? Just playing cards, whatever they may be. It's because those guys enjoy it. It also means that there was winning along with that too, but it's also the other side. But when you got these elite, and I hate to use this word because I hate how this word has been used, but alpha guys, if you can get them to agree with one another, be on the same page, and understand that, look, I got my flaws, but I'm going to pick yours up too. Or you pick mine up. Being able to lean on somebody is one of the biggest parts of having good teams because the other side is good too. But it's a matter of how I hide your deficiencies on how you pass that. It's also, look, you guys won't match up good against the Rams. So offensively, we got to be good. And you know those things because of how you build and how you grow as a unit, man. And I think that's it's corny, it's cheesy, it can sound lame as hell. But that stuff is necessary. Like at the end of the season for us, we're not playing. I hate to be this guy, but coach would tell us, hey, y'all need to don't talk to each other for about a month. It's because we were just always around each other.
Yeah.
We had our own culture. We bullied guys, not in that sense, but like either you're going to get with us or we're going to find somebody else.
Sure.
Out. And I don't mean, take the word bullying back.
No, but listen,
you reinforce.
You're weeding some of that stuff out, though.
Yeah.
That is, to me, Ramon, I understand that there's probably some negative connotations around that, and, people are hypersensitive about it. I understand.
Right.
But you need that to police the locker room. As players, that's your space. You govern that space. The coaches do not. It is incumbent upon you to figure out who can do the job and can you get with the rest of the program. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, even if you want to use a different word.
Yes, and that's what it is. Like if guys jumping off sides, like I've seen guys get physical. With the idea that offensively and defensively, like, you suck, we're going to lose because of this, or just getting in somebody's face. And I felt like last year with the incorporation, Coach Callahan, his first time around the sun as a coach, he couldn't be that guy. Who are you first, right? But now you're getting to the point, as I told you earlier, like he's giving that power and ownership to the players. And when the players can say, man, you need to be here and we all need to be here, and nobody bats an eye. Like I used to say, I've said, like my later years, I would show up right about now. No, probably about last week or the week before. And you know what happened, Buck, when I was away for too long? I get a call. Marlon, what you got going on?
Mm-hmm.
You want to be here. We need you here. It would be suggested, but we're telling you to come and be around us because this team camaraderie starts now. We need you here because you bring your component, and because of that, we're not complete unless you're here. And it forces, honestly, to somewhat abort your family in a sense, because that's the main thing, because all the things that you have is because of what we're doing inside of this building. And I think that's where the player side of pressurizing each other, hearing Calvin be excited about that, is necessary because he knows what good teams can be, and he also knows what trash ones look like too with what happened last year. And I don't mean to call them trash like that, but the idea that it was a bad product, you don't want that. No player wants to lose.
The people don't have to be trash for the product to be trash. And the product last year was hot garbage. I mean, that's no way. No way to avoid that. I also think, and in talking to coaches about this leading up, because I'm just trying to understand more about what it is that they're talking about, right? Like, you don't have to give me all the ins and outs. I don't need every detail from every meeting you ever sat in, but like, help me understand why, which is also how players are these days. Help me understand why we're doing these things this way. And if you can provide me a good reason as to what the process is or why it needs to be different from last year or how it's going to help me, then you get that buy-in. It's not, do as I say just because I say. There have to be reasonable explanations. And coaches work, I think, more in supporting roles these days with professional athletes. You can tell me if I'm wrong about this, and it depends on the coach. But I think that they are there to assist as much as they are to govern, for lack of a better term. And talking to coaches about this specific program and why they're doing it, because it's not just about fostering those important relationships on the field. It's about helping guys. It seems like guys crave it a little bit.
They do.
And there's nothing wrong with this. We can get into a little bit of male toxicity if we want to, but dudes don't always emote the best, right?
No.
They don't connect the best. If you put them in a situation where it allows them to be more open, then you can get the best version of them, because there is a lot of guys, and I'm obviously not speaking as a professional athlete, but I'm speaking as somebody who's covered them throughout the course of my career. There's so many of these dudes that have trauma coming up that have informed football as a way out of the trauma. And you don't realize how many other guys may have gone through similar situations from you are, or even the exact same situation, even if it's not in the same place or the same time, that can help build that bond and then further the process of the on-field product, because it deepens that connection.
It does, Buck. Also you bring up a great point, because you talk about that trauma, you talk about the idea that guys need to understand it. It is look, it's all right. It's okay. It's okay. And then you just get the most out of them, because it's a matter of, Buck, that being the case to where it can honestly just save your life or your well-being of life after football. Because here's what guys don't want to do: show you pain, show you emotions, and show their raw feelings. And that can be, Buck, we're in Oakland. Hey, and I'm talking to Marquise. Hey, I'm saying stars. Come on, check the bleep out. Most guys ain't comfortable doing that. Or you can be Marquise. Hey, Mon, I'm hurting. I'm hurting. You're going to have to look out for me this game. Like, that type of open dialogue happens because of your closeness, because I know you, because I trust you. And not just that, Buck, I have pushed you. I have made you a better player because of how we go at each other. And those are the things right there that I feel like Coach Callahan is trying to get out of his guys, because the transparency that you're allowed to have, the openness of a team being able to build organically, is some of the things that good teams do. We see Chris Jones crying on the sidelines, right, in Kansas City. Or we see the way the operation is for Philly, how it looks like a family. And that's because those guys can be transparent. When A.J. Brown had his book session, nobody batted an eye. That's just A.J. doing A.J. because they understand A.J. Brown. And that's what team building, the corny stuff that you do, being able to challenge one another, allows in those moments right there. Like I said, nobody wants to talk about injuries or concussions. And we had an open discussion about, hey, if you got something going on, say something. And that's a matter of like the well-being of living at that point, Buck. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of teams have guys that cry in darkness for a better sense. And those teams are usually fragmented. Not saying that you cry in darkness is the reason you're losing, but the idea that you're building a culture or team to where when one player leaves, another one steps into the role and y'all train him up the exact same way.
No, but it's the most important thing, though. It's that trust.
Yeah.
Like that trust has to be there for that person to be willing to share those vulnerabilities. Because I know that some people within the sound of our voice today will roll their eyes at the idea of football players and exposing that vulnerability to other football players. But I'm telling you, the best teams that I have been around, you could speak to this on an obviously much deeper level. They are so comfortable with one another. Delaney Walker is one of the most honest people I've ever met. Delaney, last time I saw Delaney, he was telling me that I go out too much. But you know what? Like, Delaney will tell you what it is, and I'm obviously not.
But that's a vet move right there. You know why? You're too accessible. We see you all the time. You're not as important as you need to be no more because you're regular.
Correct.
Now. Yeah, it matters.
Correct. And like Delaney, the thing that I always appreciated about that generation of Titans locker room was those dudes were always fine, no matter how uncomfortable it felt or maybe looked externally, with saying, no, you're effing up here. I need you to be better. Mm-hmm. I understand why you might be, and I'm here to help you the whole way through. But one, you got to tell me so that I can know where my blind spots are to make you better. That I think, and again, we have no idea whether this situation is going to be accomplished through Callahan's offseason program. But Ramon, I'm telling you that part of it, that mental component of it, for as taxing and as grinding as these things are on you guys, it is absolutely essential. Again, this is from my perspective as a third party. I'd let you speak more on it.
But that's why it's important to be able to establish and have that foundation as a team, as a squad, because it's to your point to where that's the unique thing about football to me is it's the idea that you are out there to be an athlete, but also it's the physical component of it. It's the day-to-day side of it. You mentioned the part of it that's most important. Like what we do is more mental than it ever is physical. And I know a lot of people say, whatever, you big, strong guys running to walls. No, that's not the case. You got to be able to diagnose, see, and react every single play. And on top of that, inherent physicality. And that's where having a guy to your left, to your right, or crossing you to say, you know what, I'm a little bit less than today. Assist me, help me. I need to lean on you a little bit more. And that's those teams right there where you have, and I hate to go back to Titans history, but the Wesley Woodyards. They might not have had a Pro Bowl, but guys leaned on him. You bring up Delaney, guys leaned on guys like that. And also this side of it too, I think that's where a lot of the fan base has an expectation of Jeff being able to do those things. And I will give him credit to this point. You need more than just him. I think the intent for him to be that guy is always there. But you need more than just him because Jeff is a let me show you type of guy more times than not.
And he produces, which is a form of leadership, right?
Yep.
But he's the rah-rah guy. You need, like, we talk about these things as a collective. And the way that it needs to work is those guys have to know their teammates almost as well as they do themselves to be able to develop that mind meld. So even if I don't tell you that I need you more today than I did yesterday, those people will be able to identify. There's a level of, not to use psychological terms or anything like that, but emotional.
I'm a social major. I like that.
Okay. I'm a poli-sci major. God knows how we ended up here. Some people could have probably assumed that. That mind meld, though, Ramon, that emotional intelligence and that connection that is created between those guys. That's what I think was so impressive about, because the Titans weren't that great that entire tenure of Casey and Wesley and Delaney and all those things, but they were together enough that when they got the right components, those dudes knew how to foster that environment for Jeffrey, for AJ coming in 2019. They got the juice. We've got the culture. Let's take this thing to the next level. But understand that I need you here, and you need to tell me when you need me.
You know, the biggest component of that one is a story I got to tell real quick, and then the other one is what you just said, too. The biggest component of what you just said, though, Buck, the headliner, everything that you said was player-led. I think that's where one of the negative parts about what Vrabel's tenure was here, this team was Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans. It wasn't the players that you just named that the product associated themselves with at all, I don't feel like. And I don't feel like last year was the case, too. Was trying to figure out what Will Levis was going to do. You was looking for the next guy. Oh, Derek's gone, right? It's Derek's thing. Like, it shouldn't just be one person. It should be the Tennessee Titans, the way you break that thing down.
A brain trust.
A brain trust of what they are. And just a small start. So I went to a players event last year, too. And I was expecting to see minimal 12 guys there because of draft picks, right? And young guys, second-year guys. But there was, how many current players show up? 3, if I'm not mistaken, to a players' charity event.
Stop it.
And that's some of the stuff that...
Red flag.
Yes. All rookies should have been there, despite the you know what I'm saying, despite the position that they were playing in. That's something that you're, like a culture of the locker room. Hey, you're going to Troy's event tonight. Get your little luau suit, and you're going. Or Ryan Clark has an event tonight. You're all going. Brett Kiesel has an event tonight. Every rookie be there. And what it does is sets an established like relationship of what the optics are supposed to look at. Even if I told you to be there, nobody in the public knows this. The optics is that we support each other. And guess what? When you get in the same building with one another, you're going to have a good time anyway. That's more team building. There's more camaraderie. It was fascinating to see no guys be there the way I thought they would have been. You know, and that's like one of the first signs of a team that's together in the same boat, rowing in the same direction. I'll tell you off air whose event it was, but that was just a little eye opener. It's like, okay,
I might have some guesses.
This is a little bit different right here.
Yeah.
But losing also takes away from all of that.
And that, yeah, of course, and especially when the quarterback is the primary reason for the losing, right? When that's an in-season thing as opposed to an off-season thing and a camaraderie building thing. But like this Callahan, I took a lot of notes. I'm not going to hold it up for the audience here, but I had a lot of conversations after the fact, after Callahan's press conference last week, just trying to understand more about what it is that is going to push this program forward. And they've got what they call sins. All right. Now, obviously, at some point, most people have been to church. I don't have to explain the concept of a sin. Right. But in the Titans world, this offseason, a sin is a self-inflicted negative. All right. So it's an acronym. And the point system is derived based on these sins or lack thereof. So, you know, an interception is a sin. A false start is a sin. These kind of sins, quote unquote, that is baked into their metric system on the 8 teams that they've divided the players in and put the assistant coaches on. Callahan and the coordinators are not on teams, but they are the judges of these things, and they have the point totals up for everybody when they walk in the building at the start of the day. You know who effed up the most. You know who effed up the least, and it's literally a way for them to provide feedback to the players while also fostering that competition to say, you know, if a player gets called into Callahan's office at the end of training camp is getting cut, throw your sin total up on the board and we'll tell you exactly what happened here, bud.
Transparency.
It removes the emotion, or at least a component of the emotion, from the conversation. No, here was this, you did that. Here's why it doesn't work for us, but we appreciate your time. Maybe you'll learn from this.
That's a good thing, because here's what I will say. I had that every year in Pittsburgh. If I was messing up, everybody saw it. If a player A was messing up, and you know what happened also behind that? We talk about it, we'd address it, then it was done. It never lingered, too. AB and Ike Taylor get into a fight or Ryan Clark get into a fight on the field. We talked about it, addressed it, next day, done. But that's because of the transparency, because everybody understands what the method of operating for taking away from the team is and why we don't do those things, man. It bang you over the head for a fine and we're moving on. Don't let it linger, because the more we talk about non-football issues or the reasons why not, it takes away from why we're not losing also. I mean, why we're not winning. It's a delicate, beautiful process, Buck. It really is. Been in those team meeting rooms, man, and it's not like anything else, because it's so open, so transparent, so abrasive almost, in a sense, that you got to understand it to be in it. And you've described it, I'll be quite honest with you, pretty well.
Sometimes conflict is good. I think people have a hard time wrapping their head around that, though. No conflict when it comes to Austin Price. Just because Will's not here doesn't mean we won't keep the same things going. So we'll talk a little Vols with Austin Price of VolQuest next.
It's Ramon Foss for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people, man. Nobody wants to deal with the plumbing, HVAC, or an electrical emergency. Not at all, man. Most of the time, you don't even know what it'll cost or if it'll get fixed right or if somebody's just trying to sell you something you don't need, all right? When you call Hiller, their experts are going to solve your problems quickly. Let me tell you this. I also am a customer of Hiller, and they do exactly as I just told you. They'll solve your problems quickly. If there's an issue, they will come back and fix it as quick as possible because their guarantee is this. Happy you'll be, the service is free. And that's because they do good business, and they know they do good business. They've been here for over 35 years and are family-owned and operated. Their techs also are professional, experienced, and trustworthy. And they all are background checked and drug screened too. And when they're on the way, you don't have to guess. No, they'll send you a picture of the tech and also a link to track them in real time so you're not waiting around. I told you, it's one of the best companies around, man. So whether you need plumbing, heating, cooling, or electrical, reach out to the company I trust, man. You can visit their website at happyhiller.com.
That music means Austin Price of VolQuest is here with us. Appreciate him popping on, as is always the case, Tuesdays at normally 8:20, but Austin was kind to adapt for us this morning. Austin, good to speak with you for the first time. Looking forward to diving into some Vols talk here with you.
Good to talk to you, Buck.
So as we look at kind of where things stand ahead of a fascinating college football season with the Tennessee Vols, I wonder what the latest efforts are on the part of the Vols and the recruiting effort as they look to build this roster back up and try and set themselves up for the future as much as the present. Because the present, I mean, Austin, I don't know how you feel about this. I know you've talked about this with the morning show folks many, many times over, but this is as science experiment a Tennessee Vols season as I can remember in quite some time.
I agree. The intrigue, the unknown, there's a mystery to it, and I think there's a certain level of excitement. There is for me. I mean, so many times you go into fall camp and you're like, 30 days of misery. Like, you get to watch 5 minutes of practice and come over here for a bunch of press conferences, but it's like, man, this 5 minutes, I'm gonna try to digest it all. I mean, there's just so much unknown about this football team. Obviously at quarterback, but a number of other different positions, wide receiver being another, and I mean, there's just some mystery to it, and that doesn't mean Tennessee's going to be 6-6 or 7-5. They certainly could be, I guess, but I mean, doesn't mean they're also going to be 10-2 or 11-1, but they could be. You just don't know. You don't know what kind of quarterback play you're going to get. Josh Heupel, I think, will coach motivated because of this change to try to prove his worth. I think there's going to be again a certain level of motivation for some of the players and some of the coaches on this football team.
Austin Price of VolQuest on 3 with us this morning. Austin, with that being said, it was an exciting weekend this past week with the 865 Live, man, and one of the guys they've been after, Savion Hyder, was in town, man. 1, how did they pull that off? And 2, what kind of impression did they make on him?
I continue to believe that Tennessee trends well there. I don't think they're by any stretch the leader. I don't think Michigan's the leader either. I think it's kind of a 2-team race right now. Georgia, Ohio State bringing up the 3-4 spots, but the Wolverines and Vols out in front. And Tennessee's done a nice job the last couple of months of making up some ground. They seem to have quite a bit of momentum. Again, he chose to come here this weekend instead of going anywhere else as official visits start for him. Now, he'll take the official visits to 4 to, Columbus and Ann Arbor and Athens and Knoxville. And Tennessee will get the last shot. And the question is when does he commit? Does he do like most do, take the visits in June and commit either late June or early July? Or does he take it more like David Sanders did a year ago, take that thing into August and September? I think that's to be determined. But Tennessee's been working hard on him. Darrell Sims and Savion have developed a nice relationship. And Savion wanted to kind of lay under the radar. And that one's been set in stone for about 10 to 14 days about him coming to town. But he wanted, kind of just no pressure, no fanfare coming into town. But once he got here, it was all hands on deck trying to continue to impress him.
Also, one of the top prospects was edge rusher. How do you say Hezekiah Harris? He's an Auburn commit that was in town too. How do you flip a guy like that from Auburn at this point?
Persistent and consistent, and that's what Coach Chop has been with Hezekiah Harris. He has been very much persistent and consistent with him. Hezekiah has been here a bunch for a kid that's committed to another school,
right? And
I feel like Tennessee, again, continues to have some momentum there, and he'll be back for his official visit. That's why it's so important to get these kids here for 865 Live, because you're getting them to campus 2 times in basically a month. You'll get them for the OV in June, but you're getting them right at the tail end of May as well, unofficially. And Tennessee's hit rate has been really, really good. I mean, nothing's 100%, but I mean, it's probably 50 or better on the kids that have been here for both, 865 Live and their official visit a few weeks later. And, to get him back up here is a big deal. I continue to feel like that's one that Tennessee has a real opportunity to flip.
You can, of course, keep up with everything that Austin Price is writing and reporting at Austin Priceless on Twitter, on3.com. Of course, VolQuest is where you can take in all the news and notes each and every day. To your point about getting these guys on campus, Austin, and we'll wrap with this. Stephen Aguilar has now been on campus for, 2 weeks, give or take, at this point in time. How have you heard the acclimation process is going? Because as we go with the science experiment metaphor here, I'm so curious to see what this coaching staff values more as they determine the starting quarterback through this competition. Game experience, starting experience, or knowledge of the system, because you could put all three quarterbacks in two different buckets that way, it feels.
You really could. I mean, Joey Aguilar does have all of the game experience, and then the other two, even if for George McIntyre, he's got 4 or 5 months of being on campus in the system, and of course Jake Merklinger has a year and a half of doing that. And for Josh Heupel, that's why this thing's going to be a wide open competition come August, and it's up to Joey Aguilar to hit the ground running. If he can learn the offense and not make the mental errors in fall camp, I think his game experience would be the tipping point in his favor. Obviously, if you don't know the offense and you're making mental errors or throwing interceptions a bunch in fall camp, I think that obviously hurts his opportunity to be the starting quarterback. But if he's able to pick up the offense well enough for Josh Heupel and Joey Halsey and everybody to feel confident in him, I think the game experience takes him over the top here. I do think he's got some moxie to him. 2 years ago, he was a really, really good buck at Appalachian State. Last year, not as good an offensive line, running for his life, not as good a receivers, and made some mistakes, forced some things, took more gambling risks a year ago. I don't think you can do that this year, but I do wonder with the wide splits and the Tennessee's ability to run the ball, does that help a guy like Joey Aguilar start to cut down on the mistakes?
Mm-hmm. Understood.
Well, Austin, we so appreciate you taking some time. Good to catch up. Great intel as always, my friend.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Austin.
That's Austin Price there with us on Ramon and Will. Buck Rising filling in this morning. We will get back to the dialogue around the Titans. We'll also talk a little NBA. We got Pacers and Knicks on tap tonight. Keep it right here on 104.5 The Zone.
Two Rivers Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.
Welcome back to the show. Brewed by Scooter's Coffee. It's Ramon and Will. Will's out this week, so we're not carrying the weight.
Nah.
We're the weight.
Try us if you want.
If you want. Bad idea. That's Ramon Foster. I'm Buck Rising. Hanging out with you here until 10 a.m. Then we're going to turn it over to whatever the hell Robert and Lucas are going to do.
What do we call it?
Oh, I don't care.
Don't matter.
I mean, it's still got my name on it. As long as they know that, then I don't care what they do. As long as they know that they still got to work under my name, that's all I care about. I don't even have to be there, and they still have to carry that weight, 100%. Which delights me.
And what's crazy is too late for them to start to make a new graphic right now. If they did want to change it to the Lucas and Robert show, you know what I'm saying? Like they can't make that graphic right now.
No, neither of them have the skills, nor the capabilities, nor the work ethic, frankly, to make it work. Based on my experience,
I love it.
So
Bro.
got them right where I want them.
Right where you want them.
Isn't it the Triple B now?
He keeps trying to say that.
Big
and then
Boss Burt, Big Booty, what is it? Big Booty Buddy, and then Big Baby Buck.
Yeah, he had that for me as well. That's about as much work as he's done at any point in the last 3 years.
I was close to calling in when he said that. I said, don't interrupt their show, Mom, but that was pretty good. I can't lie to you. I was like, Bert.
Listen, you got the bat phone number. You call, especially because I know you're on my side.
Yeah, I'm on her side. Like the fact that you gave Lucas that name. Come on, Robert. Only he can do that.
Well, no, that seems that you want to talk about two Americas type of situation.
Yeah.
Nobody is more comfortable talking about other dudes than white dudes. I don't know why that is. I don't know what that is. Teron Davenport has looked me in the eye sometime, being like, "What the hell are you doing over there?" I was like,
"So serious."
Yeah, it's a real thing.
So serious,
and I only
know
that from locker room dynamics.
Dog, the amount of conversations talked about other guys' personal spaces.
Yep.
It's just like, why do you bring that up?
Yep.
Do you not understand? Like, we don't talk about that, but oh my God.
It's a two Americas type of situation.
Nick Foles is a conversation piece in locker rooms. And I'll just leave it at that, man.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Again, nobody more comfortable talking about other dudes' members than white dudes. I don't know why that is.
I mean, it's true.
I don't know.
I don't know many black guys that talk about it like that.
Some things are facts. We're here to bridge the gap. We're here to expose the blind spots. We're here to keep it moving.
So, yeah, we're getting laughing emojis in the chat because they know it's true, too. That's how you know.
Well, the real ones know. The ones that want to deny it are the ones that are probably fighting some other battles on their time. But that's not what we're here to talk about right now. Speaking of battles that are being fought, the New York Knicks are trying to get back into this series, did so successfully with a Game 3 win at Indiana after my Indiana Pacers, blue collar, gold swagger, go Sirs, were able to steal the first two in Madison Square Garden. Game 4 in Indiana tonight, and Halliburton looking much more like the most overrated player in the NBA than he has basically at any point in this series. Ramon, I know you've been locked in on the basketball, so I wanted to make sure that we touched on it a little bit. If New York cannot even the series tonight, I personally feel it's over. But I don't think that's because Indiana's not a more talented basketball team. It's a better team situation rather than relying on Brunson for clutch moments or fourth quarter Cat to come out of nowhere after three quarters of garbage, frankly, in Game 3. And it's just such a fascinating way to see this series play out. I've enjoyed it so far.
I have too, man. And it's Cat for me, man, more than anything. Can he stay out of foul trouble? Can him and Jalen Brunson both stay out of foul trouble? And which Cat are you going to get? You're going to get him for all 4 quarters, or do you got to wait on it because now pressure's on, man? But then the other side of it, though, too, for me, Tyrese Halliburton, like the missed shots or the sporadic turnovers that he'll have at times is very problematic for what Indiana's got going on. And his biggest issue is this. He's waiting on Siakam to go before he goes at times. And that is very problematic for him, for a guy that's supposed to be budding superstar, getting to that point. He can't allow that to be the case, especially playing against this team where you went and pretty much smacked them up and down the court in the Garden. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the issue that you're running into for Indy. Like, and here's the other side, too. If they come out like SGA did last night, and create problems for them, because I felt like New York got it to a point just like, oh, y'all just think you're going to cruise to a finish. Like that team, that city, I've trolled them. I got good friends of mine that are Knicks fans. I go to the barbershop with a cat of mine. He was just like, I'm not talking to you today. I was like, what? He was like, you dog my Knicks out. I was like, yeah, y'all deserve it because y'all are loud and brash. But like that fan, I think that team feels New York and the anxiety and pressure of it. So they can't die out. They were up. Indy was up by 20 the other night and dropped it, lost by 6.
That's the Knicks bat symbol. As soon as they go back down by 20, they seem to come out of the ashes and rise up to their credit. But at some point, Ramon, that to me, and basketball is a different sport, but especially when they play as short a rotation as they do, New York does, that pace is taxing. Cat did it on a bad knee in the fourth quarter, okay? Yeah. Brunson, his ability at 6'2", that is the most New York basketball player I've ever seen in my life with the way that he's able to manufacture these shots. Obviously, he doesn't do the whole SGA foul merchant thing all the time, but he does have that element to his game, right? Some of it's not aesthetically pleasing, but if it's effective, who cares? I just think that we'll get bailed out way that they've been living and dying through these postseason, even though the moments have been spectacular and made much more so, emphasized much more so because it's Timothy Chalamet out in the streets with New York Knicks fans. Knicks fans throwing bags of trash at Pacers fans and things like that, right? New York is feeding off that energy, but just as the highs are so high, the lows seem to be exactly that. I feel the same way about Minnesota, to be honest with you, with what we saw from Ant last night.
Disgusting from Ant, man. He can't allow it to be the case. But with this series right now, man, if Indiana doesn't answer the call tonight, I think the series going back to New York is never good for them. Because this is where you're going to see, if they even it up, I almost feel like unless Siakam is in his bag the way he was in game 2, then there's nothing they can do moving forward. Because to rely on Halliburton, I feel like he can go tit for tat almost with Jalen Brunson. So who's the other guy that's going to bring them from the shadows, as you like to say, to go get a dub like that? And going back to the Garden this time, I think the reset of watching Cat cook the way he did towards the end of that game and the way they relied upon their bench a little bit more, could be very problematic for the Pacers moving forward. And the pace, too. If they can slow down the pace of what Indy's got going on, they take the series in New York, is the way I look at it.
Fascinating to watch. Yeah,
good.
It's just good basketball. The basketball has been, and honestly, I'm in and out on the hockey. I'm prioritizing the basketball just because there's more there, and Florida has just been mopping the floor.
Doing it again
with Carolina. It's been brutal. I don't know if they're going to do it again, but they look like they're going to do it again. I've just so enjoyed the second and third round. Basically, has been the best version of the NBA. So it's good to be able to touch on that from time to time. We'll get back to some local stuff. We'll get back to some NFL stuff. How about? Because there's new reporting out there on a quarterback carousel domino that may be falling in the not too distant future, but it's not the one you think it is. The final hour of Ramon and Will, Buck Rising filling in today, is on tap next.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Good people, right now they have 47% off their non-surgical spinal decompression treatment, man. It's one of the best deals you can have going on right now. Again, Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley will not give up on you. When it comes to back and knee pain, man, neck pain also, Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are in the trenches fighting and helping you win the battle of pain, man. You guys know I played a very physical game, and that's why I'm going to the Wellness Institute of Nashville. But here's the thing. It's not just for me. It's for guys that have gone to the gym a ton, or moms, or anybody that have those issues where you just been dealing with the back pain, the disc bulges, herniation, spinal stenosis. Go get fixed, man. It's very simple. There are no poking on you. There is no cutting on you. None of those things are being done because they have some of the best technology around as it pertains to their spinal decompression machines, the lasers that they use, or even the zero gravity machines. They will find the best strategy to get you back to your best. So go ahead and start off with your pain-free life, and it is possible. You need to reach out to the company I trust, and that's the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
What's going on? 6 o'clock from the 104.5. Oh, it's 9 o'clock. Good Lord. 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. T-minus 100 days until the start of the NFL season, and the Tennessee Titans, they're back on the practice field today, tomorrow, and Friday as OTAs begin for Phase 3 of the offseason. In the SEC baseball tournament over the weekend, the Vanderbilt Commodores are the 2025 SEC champions after beating Ole Miss in the final 3-2. Vandy allowed just 8 total hits and 2 runs between the final and semifinal this weekend. Conference champions now have been crowned, so the road to Omaha is set. Vanderbilt is the number 1 overall seed, and they'll host the Nashville Regional starting this Friday. ETSU, Louisville, Wright State are in their regional. The Tennessee Vols, the reigning national champs, they get the 14 seed, and they have a regional in Knoxville, hosting Cincinnati, Wake Forest, and Miami of Ohio. Conference finals tonight continue with Game 4s in the NBA. The Indiana Pacers have a 2-1 series lead over the New York Knicks, and they'll be playing at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. on TNT. In the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers are trying to get their 3rd straight win against the Dallas Stars and take a 3-1 series lead. Puck drop tonight at 7 p.m. on ESPN in Alberta. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour already. What a breeze. Hanging out here this morning. It's Ramon and Will, Buck Rising, filling in. Don't worry, it's just one day. Turn it over to Brent tomorrow. You got Dawn on Thursday. You got, what is it? The Savage
Radio.
Savagery Radio.
Yeah.
Savage Run Radio.
Yeah.
Make the shirts. Savage Run Radio on Friday with Slay and a big fella.
Yeah.
Like a couple of big fellas cutting it up. While Will is on vacation, happy to do it. Happy to make Lucas and Robert do my show under my name without me having to be on it. I'm going to pop a gummy, take a massage, have a big time this afternoon.
That's so real.
While the 2 of them are out here schlepping it. Go ahead, talk your baseball, boys. I'll see you out there.
Do your thing.
I'll catch you Wednesday.
Papa's laid it out for you. Do your thing.
It's hard to support 2 individuals that are actively trying to undermine you more than I have provided for those 2 dopes. But it's fine.
You know what I think of when you say that right there, 2 dopes? Pinky in the brain.
Yeah, but one of them has to have a brain. Bert will say a lot of things. I mean, it's true.
That's why he's my guy.
Yeah,
That's why he's my guy. Pinky in the brain. I love it.
Oh, it'll be a good time all week long. It's been a good time so far this morning. Something that has been not a good time from your former neck of the woods. The Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation has been fascinating. Only in so much as Mike Tomlin may have to be up against his first losing season ever because he's being held hostage by this Rodgers circumstance. And I wonder, Ramon, the latest reporting from Jeremy Fowler, who I know you know well, previously from such an extended time in Pittsburgh. He was their ESPN.com guy for a while.
I saw Jeremy come up as a guy,
okay,
like just in the locker room, wide-eyed, bushy tail, and now look at her.
Good to see. But anyway, his reporting over the weekend was that Pittsburgh is circling back to at least entertaining the Kirk Cousins trade scenario while they work through whatever Aaron Rodgers situation that they're working through. Because I've never heard an owner like I've heard Art Rooney so publicly speak out on a quarterback situation that is not currently under contract, but you can clearly tell that the patience is getting tested there. And I don't believe the Titans have the Steelers on the schedule this year.
Not this
just
year.
the Browns.
Yep, just the Browns.
Just the Browns. So Tennessee won't see them specifically, but looking from afar at what may happen, and for the purposes of Titans-related conversation, who's still going to need a quarterback while I try to sell Will Levis for parts? Respectfully.
I love it. Because I can see
Will and I have had a good relationship. I don't know how much I've tested that in probably the last.
But you're speaking on the business.
No, but that's what
the
it is.
The business is different.
And to his credit, I think he's honestly understood it the whole way through. But still, like, who needs a quarterback? Will Levis career rehabilitation training camp getting ready to go underway. You've got Pittsburgh, you've got Cleveland and whatever situation that they're in, and you've got New Orleans trying to figure it out, and now Jake Haener getting hurt. I genuinely don't know what Pittsburgh's going to do at quarterback, but I feel like the more days that pass, the less likely it is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no doubt. Real quick, though, a little side note. It'd be funny, though, going back in that situation as Will Levis gets traded to Pittsburgh. Now he becomes Mason Rudolph's backup. Would Mason big boy him is the question I would have to know in that situation. But that's neither here nor there. He'll be a pro no matter what. But the situation to me, having Mr. Rooney speak out, I look at that and say they're not a story headline team if they don't choose to be. Like, I know you say, well, you're Hale Antonio, you had all this, Martavis Bryant, Santonio Holmes. Yeah, but like, you're not going to volunteer yourself into being in those situations with a guy that's not in your locker room, not on your roster. And that's where it becomes super problematic. I do feel like with the way the Rooneys run their business, and Omar Khan, too, the GM, they love to work it out with Aaron Rodgers and love to have him sign and be a part of that team because Coach Tomlin's one of those guys, man, that absolutely love when guys are greats. He's always paid it forward. If he's met a guy, he's never been afraid to go up to him and say, love your work, love your game, love to do business with you one day. That's how he is at times. And that's why I feel like they want a guy like Aaron Rodgers there. But the way teams are complex and when you go to work with them can be very problematic, especially from the quarterback position. Because you got veterans on that team like a TJ Watt, like a Cam Hayward. They got to deal with a guy coming in that's not totally, as we spoke about earlier with the Titans culture, bought in. One thing that I know about that team, that city, is they'll love you as long as you work. As long as there's positivity coming out. And watching Aaron Rodgers as of late, I feel like his tour that he's going on, who is with Rogan, I think.
No.
The stuff that he's saying, I feel like is the reason Mr. Rooney is of the mindset, like, this is too much. We got to at least have another option. He's talking about conspiracy theories with Ellen DeGeneres and stuff like that. Like, Aaron.
3-hour podcast, not one mention of the Steelers. It was honestly, not to wish ill on any fan base, but Steelers fans going through it where this man did a 3-hour interview and didn't mention football once.
Not once. But he's answering conspiracy theories and Pizzagate and stuff like that. It's just like, bro.
Pizzagate.
Let's keep the main thing because that city, that team has been longing for a playoff win. Let's start there. Screw the playoffs at this point. Screw Mike Tomlin and his record for that point moving forward now, too. What are you doing to keep this team relevant? Because here's the thing. If you waddle in the misery of just being complacent, like, you lose all of that luster that you've had. You lose all of that shininess of who you are as a franchise, and Aaron Rodgers could be the type of quarterback to break it. And I'll say this, too. I'd much rather him break that with his play than with his antics or the fact that you got to wait on him. That's the issue that you're dealing with. You are in a rent-a-quarterback year-to-year mode right now, and you're thinking he could be the guy to help you move forward down the line. Will Howard been a 5th, 6th rounder? I know fans like to linger to that guy, but or not just him, but like the guy, he could.
Training camp
this
crush.
Is Tyler Shuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is New Orleans hoping Tyler Shuck turns into something. Like, you don't want to be in that business because, again, we speak about head coaches and what they mean. Stability at that position means way more. Like, you're the CEO of the organization at that point.
Oh, my God, look no further. And I know there's different examples of this, and they're not all complete and total parallels, but, like, look no further than the local professional football team. The quarterback cratered, and as a result, the season cratered. Mm-hmm. And the quarterback's ability to handle the mental strain of everything that he was being asked, on top of the difficulties of playing that position, had residual effects that you could not account for, you could not make up for. You just had to ride it out in just about the most unpleasant way possible. Except when, frankly, Mason came in and stabilized the situation. I'm not saying that Mason was a good enough player here and certainly not good enough on a terrible roster like last year's Titans roster was. But even just like when you look at the sack rate between the two of them and how much more decisive Mason was and how less often he was taking sacks that would kill drives, even if the drive would die for some other reason, like mitigating at least one element of the thing that the starting quarterback was incapable of handling. Ramon, never in my life have I heard a professional athlete, no matter the position, get up to a podium in week 2 and talk to me about, and not just me, but talk to a room full of media about rewiring his brain. And I know I have hammered that one into the ground, but it's unthinkable to me. Even if you're going through that, compartmentalize, handle yourself, figure out how it is to keep that within your locker room context, to ask for the support that you need internally, do not externalize that to us. Do not let us think that there are more fires than might actually be out there, because it may not have been as serious as that sounded. You tell me, after making the mistakes that you did in back-to-back weeks, that you got to rewire your brain. I'm trying to figure out why the hell they don't have a sports psychologist in there with you. I'm picking at all these different things that I wasn't even thinking about. Like, are you going to short circuit out there? Turns out he was.
He did. In the words of Bishop Magic Don Juan, preach, okay? Tabernacle, Buck. You was going in because
it's that Anna James today.
I know. What a collection plate, man. You was going off. But what you were saying is this: don't allow us to paint your picture. I love the transparency of him saying that, but this is what we spoke about earlier with this team component, this 8-team competition that they got going on inside of the building. That way you can lean on somebody. Hey, bro, I'm going to throw it off right now. Can you help me? Or go to the coaching staff to have that level of comfort to where you can open up and say those things to them, too, because most coaches want to coach. As you said earlier, most players want to be coached, too. And those things have to be an open dialogue inside of that building. Again, this is why I say when we look at what Cam Ward's pathway to success is going to be, I think early on it should be more boxed in, because, Buck, 2 weeks into last year's season, he's talking about rewiring. But here's the other thing, though, too. Coach Callahan, from my understanding, asked him what he wanted to do, how he wanted to go about it, and he wanted to go deep. And all we were focused on is, what is your connection like with Calvin Ridley? You know, those were the conversations we were having last year. Instead of saying, no, Will, instead of throwing that pick 6 to Weatherspoon in training camp, maybe don't throw that. Run it back. Let me teach you why in the house. And I'll be quite honest, we all looked at it like, oh, yeah, well, we'll just sweep that under the rug, until it happened in a game. Until Zaire Alexander ran the exact same thing on him and Malik Willis comes in town and beats you. That's why I think the pathway for Cam Ward has to be a little bit different. And not just that, his rookie class supporting him. He got 2 wide receivers that should be right by his hip no matter what. Being able to at least communicate with him, even if they are running with the twos, to be able to say, hey, I see this, I don't see this, or maybe you should help me and I'll help you in these components. It's a very intricate, delicate situation, but it's phenomenal in the end, Buck, if you can really get that type of stuff right. But with Pittsburgh in that quarterback situation, it's wrong. Just either roll with Mason, see what happens, but this waiting game for a veteran that's 42 years old, you're hustling backwards at this point. They need to go knock on Kirk Cousins' door.
And that the buy-in, we had a really good conversation. Of course, you can check out the podcast, Ramon and Will, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can always go back and watch the show on Zone TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Ramon and I had what I thought was a really engaging conversation about the trust and the buy-in required off the field and the translation of it to on the field. Ramon, you're speaking to exactly that when you talk about the fact that this guy is just, you know, it's all happening at his pace, or as much of at his pace as he wants it to, and he's holding everybody else at an arm's length while he does it. He is not creating connection. He is creating distance with potential future teammates, to where, of course, when he comes in there, the dynamic is going to be difficult. And he could do that in New York, because New York, I mean, nobody was more powerful than Aaron Rodgers.
Owner gave it to him.
Right. No individual player was more powerful in the NFL than Aaron Rodgers' first year with the Jets, because they gave him the farm. And you saw how toxic that was. Garrett Wilson wanting out, having a very difficult time dealing with that personality, and the fact that Aaron Rodgers is shipping in Alan Lazard and, oh, go get me Devontae Adams and all these different things at his will, as opposed to what makes the most sense, what is in the best interest of the team.
You know what it does, the way he's going about it? It really leads itself to judging as soon as he walks into the locker room. And it also puts
preconceived notions immediately, regardless of what that guy ends up being as a teammate. Of 100%,
course. And it gives him zero room for error, too. Like, oh, we waited all year for this? That's going to be the first thing. Oh, we waited all year for this? Like, and from there, you lose guys, Buck. And when you start to lose your own locker room, or we start off, one of the most fatal things I think happened 2 years ago was when Will Levis got in and threw those 4 touchdowns, and being a great teammate, but Jeffrey Simmons said, we got ourselves a quarterback now. Now you still got to go prove it to the guys that are inside the locker room. It really victimized or villainized Ryan Tannehill to where people were ready to get rid of him, and then you found yourself with a guy that couldn't carry the bucket of water at all, Buck.
No, not even close. Tannehill is an interesting fit because he's still out there. I mean, he's local.
But it goes to the side, though. Like, if you can help us win, then I'm riding with you. The moment that you don't, it's the same way I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers in the Steelers situation. The moment he walks in that room and he throws 4 interceptions or he doesn't have a game-winning drive, he's cooked with the locker room. And I think that's what happened with Will here. And you can see it play out like that. Like, they'll be good teammates and personal and stuff like that. But if you're a main reason why we're losing, we're going to probably have a separate group chat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And there is nothing, and that doesn't have to be outright toxic, but you're talking about where the cracks start, where the fracturing starts. And that's not something I'd ever associated with the Pittsburgh Steelers as an organization. In fact, I think they've protected themselves against that remarkably well year over year for all the different, I know you've talked at length about the various different situations that the teams you were on underwent while you were in Pittsburgh and things like that. There is already such, I guess if I'm a player in that locker room or even as a media member, like I'm sure he would, recoil at the question and then give me some snarky ass response if I was to ask Aaron Rodgers something like this. But in my mind, who are you here for?
Him.
Right. That cannot be. In this particular sport, what are you chasing? Yeah. Why are you still so unhappy? What is this void that you're trying to use us to fill for you as opposed to helping us achieve the ultimate goal? Us, not you, together, not separate. And everything that Aaron Rodgers does just creates that space between him and everybody else, even if he is as high-minded as he thinks he is. And, there's probably some jokes to be made. I do think he's a highly intelligent individual. I think that he's lost the thread at some point and, buys way too much of what he himself has been selling. And he's just caught up in, not to diagnose this guy like I've got a psychological.
Yeah, but that's what we're here for, Buck. This is therapy. Come on, man. Come on, baby.
You want it, I got it. You want it, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
No, I only because as somebody and you as a player who's worked through these dynamics at a firsthand level, me as a media member who's covered teams externally, but also, part of the job is talking to guys individually throughout the course of the season, helping to tell that story. The story starts first and foremost with what are you doing here? Why are you doing it here?
Why are you doing it? And real quick, too, one of my insider sources, as that's what we'll say, told me, like, one of the reasons for his decision of the delayed commitment is when he went to New York and he was there the first year and did all of the offseason, he felt like him and his team just brought way too many outside eyes to him. Aaron, that's what the money's for. Okay, that's why you are the 4-time MVP. So what? So he's choosing to stay away this time around to keep the noise down. Well, guess what? You staying away with the fact that it's a soft commitment at this point. Like, it still keeps the noise up. And the more you keep the noise up, the more guys now continue to bring them up. Like TJ Watts gets ticked off. Cam Hayward gets ticked off. Other veterans on that team get ticked off with the idea that you are bigger than them now. So again, to your point, if you're as self-absorbed as people say you are, you're not proving that wrong right now. I saw somebody from the 49ers have a conversation about him and said that in the pre-draft, the reason they didn't, and that was a hometown team too, is because in the meeting, he slapped the coach on the butt when he got up. He was very nonchalant in his approach, and he said, this guy takes away from everything that you want in a team. That's not a good place to be. Now, he somewhat got humble in Green Bay behind Rodgers, behind Brett Favre, turned into a star, got the Super Bowl.
And has the talent, or had to back it up.
Exactly. And we can say that because the last few years hadn't been what that talent was, Buck. So sports is one of those things, if I can see it, I can tell you about it, then I shouldn't be afraid to say it. And that's exactly what it is at this point, which is why I said the last couple of years that he's had in New York, and like, well, you compared to Patrick Mahomes. Stop. They didn't win that many games as Patrick Mahomes last year. Let's not have that conversation. There is a lot of detail into how a guy has, like Deshaun Watson, 5,000 yards. They were behind a lot of the time.
Oh, my God. Blake Bortles, some of the statistics. Were you on that team that went back and forth at what was that, the divisional round? With Bortles? Like, Bortles in so many of those games was trailing so often that he would box score stuff as well as any quarterback in the league, and it ended up coming together with a bunch of 300-yard performances. But how did you get there?
Exactly. It's because they would turn it over, wouldn't have the offensive moxie to get going. He couldn't be out front with it. And also he had a monster defense.
Yeah.
God, tell me about the defense. Jalen Calais, Justin Malik. Oh my gosh, what a group!
That was as much fun as I've ever had watching defensive football, to be honest. All right, so tell me about this Monday roast thing that you guys do.
Man, if there's anything that happened over the course of last week, over the weekend, where somebody deserves to be roasted, it could be somebody holding up the left lane and you saw them get a ticket. Boom, roasted. It could be Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese with Ryan Clark and RG3 in it. Boom, roasted. Now you guys are all apologizing to one another. But it could be as simple as you being tired of 5th, 6th grade, and 8th grade graduations. There's no need for that. Boom, roasted, because your kids are coming home to eat up all the food in the refrigerator anyway.
So we're going to do a Monday roast on a Tuesday. I got some things to say. Coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. 615-737. Oh, no, wait. It's not Hattie B's Hot Chicken. It's Scooter's Coffee. Oh, my God. You know what? It's an upset. That's the first time that I did that today.
We were rolling so good, I ain't even catch it, Buck. I ain't gonna lie to you. Hey, you could have said whatever you wanted to at that point.
Well, it's like when you guys did the Vols spring game, and Mike got the Nissan Stadium thing out of the way early. It was going to happen at some point. I suppose if I'm going to do it, the 9 a.m. hour is probably the safest hour for me to make a mistake.
Boom,
like
roasted.
That.
There you go.
There we go. We made it. Now brewed by Scooter's Coffee. And any of their fine Middle Tennessee locations. Get you up in the morning, get you moving. Start your work week back, a short work week, which we love to see. Will is on vacation this week, so I'm hanging out with Ramon today, Brent tomorrow, Dawn on Thursday, and Slay on Friday. It'll be a fun week. It's always good to hang out with the morning crew, but nice to have a little change of pace. If that's your thing. I believe we have imaging to play to get us started here with a little bit of Tuesday roast, or I guess a Monday roast on a Tuesday. There's a lot going on in there. Justin, I need you to have a little more venom in your voice if you're going to do voicing on these imaging. That's
real.
Yeah, I
let it out.
I need.
What was it?
What the hell, you possessed back there?
I mean, seriously, Jay
just following along with what you want some venom. There's some venom.
Yeah, so like actual venom.
Demonstrative.
You're doing some cosplay back there, are you? He's lucky that I was half listening to his updates. Otherwise, I would have busted his ass for stroking out between his phrasing on two of them this morning, 2 of the 3. But it's all right. You're going to make it. All right. I will cede the floor to the person who is on this show every day. What is the first thing that you would like to tee off on, Big Fella?
First one, let's go pop culture a little bit, man, because I'm giving it to the people and to the company on this one. Klarna, okay? The pay-as-you-go or the payment plan purchasing option you have online. You buy tickets from Ticketmaster, clothes from any of the sites that you shop at. There are now, instead of paying the $250 for the entire thing, you can do, payments behind it. Now, monthly is the way it goes. Well, Klarna has lost, their losses doubled in Q1 after $130 million in customer debt went unpaid. You are trying to do the right thing, Klarna. So boom roasted to you, but also boom roasted to the people that need a payment plan to get their fits for the weekend and vacations and trips and stuff like that, or tickets.
Boom, roasted.
It's a product of the clout-chasing society, isn't it? Yeah. Like, people are paying for vacations that they have no business being on financially. People are buying clothes that they have no business wearing just because they want to look better on the gram. That is a plague that is, in part fueled by social media. That element has always existed. But, pay your bills.
Exactly, man. What's the big festival in the desert out west? Coachella. Like Coachella tickets you can pay for with Klarna over time, because I heard they're super expensive. One, Klarna's for you for expecting people to do the right thing. Okay, boom on that one. And then people that need this service, don't ruin it for everybody else that's actually paying their bills. $136 million in Q1 is nuts, man.
They actually should. I mean, you should be more judicious on what you are providing people financing for, like a car. Or a new air conditioning unit.
Oh,
or
man,
something that you need, right?
Water heater.
Not damn Coachella tickets.
No.
Bunch of bums out here paying for Coachella with payment plans. Out of here.
And all they're doing is...
You know who you are, too.
You know who you are. And they're starting new bank accounts so that Klarna can't pull from the new bank account. Nuts, man. I've heard about this allegedly. Not me, Buck, but I'm just telling you.
What a grift.
Oh,
Incredible.
What a grift.
Coming off Memorial Day weekend, I have a few. I went to the barbershop on, I guess that would have been Friday. And there's nothing wrong with taking your significant other to the barbershop if there are obvious hurdles there that must be overcome. But if you are so incapable of deciding the way that you as a man or a woman, frankly, need to look, that you have to take your significant other to the barbershop or the beauty parlor, then you are completely out of line. This woman walked in here with her husband. And she said, I want him to look like Josh Hamm. And then he said, oh, I wish you wouldn't do that. And she said, you told me to be here to help me or help you tell him how you need your haircut. And in my head, I am howling laughing. One, because this barber is very good, but not a miracle worker, and he cannot make your husband look like John Hamm, ma'am. And I hope if you are out there listening to me that you never do something like that ever again, because this is a barber shop that I know has listeners to the Sports Talk radio station, to the Zone here, absolutely, regardless of which show they're listening to. So if you are that man that took his wife to the barber shop, whose wife demanded that they make you look like John Hamm when you clearly had no shot, my guy. And it's that, John Hamm, very good-looking man. It's a tough sell for anything, but shame on you. Boom.
Well, roasted.
Yes, thank you.
No way you heard that conversation.
Loud. Everybody in the barbershop heard it. Everybody loud.
He got to change shops.
I would have a hard time. I personally would not have the testicular fortitude to walk back into that barbershop after she took them from me.
Yeah, no, they're in a jar somewhere at this point, Buck. They're in a jar somewhere.
Yeah, on a shelf in a barbershop.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, no, we'll pass on that one, man.
Justin, you have one?
Yeah. What's the flag football quarterback? Was it Daryl Doucette?
Desmond something. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I think it's Daryl Doucette.
Daryl Doucette.
There
we go.
He's been going viral lately because, the whole NFL passing, the players can go play in the Olympics, yada, yada. But saying that you grew the game, that's great, but pass it along to the players who have dedicated their whole life to this. NFL players, you're not going to be any better than an NFL quarterback. And plus, you look like you're throwing a bag of bricks to your receiver.
Boom, roasted.
No, you know what? I'm anti that. I like that he's chesty. He's responding. So, Ramon, you've been on the opposite end of clips that get aggregated or seen teammates. People are asking him these questions. He is responding with a genuine response, and he is probably not used to this level of media scrutiny, even if he is wrong, and he is wrong. But, I want that dude on my team. I want that guy who is irrationally...
Not as a quarterback.
You lie.
Why not?
Because he looks like he's throwing a bag of bricks.
In that sport, it don't matter.
It doesn't
He got a point. He really does.
No, you got to take the L on this one. I love that he is aggressively adamant about the sport that he thinks he's helped build up. And, people aren't paying attention, so maybe it's not as much momentum as he thinks he has. But I like that he stands on it. There's not another flag football player out here advocating against these guys who are coming in here to sweep them under the rug. I'm with it, even if they do end up sweeping them under the rug.
Yeah, I don't think he stands a chance with it, but he's 100% right on this one. That is a different sport, the way they play it, and different world on how it's officiated, too. I saw his clips of him running, bending down, doing a squat, get back up, sidestepping and stuff. It is a different world. Somebody that's coached flag football, just because you know football or a football player, trust me, I was a coach that got beat by other coaches in that league. It's a different world. Absolutely not. I ride with him on that one.
Well, then let him be like a running back or something. You're not going to be the quarterback. I'm going to die on this hill that he cannot throw the football very well. Okay. He may throw it far, but he cannot throw it very well.
It's got nothing to do with what the ball looks like coming out of his hand, as long as he gets there, and as long as he doesn't get literally pantsed in the process. And
so you're saying when you add the NFL players to the mix that the new cornerbacks or whatever that's going to be back there, they're not going to change?
I have no idea. All I know is I don't definitively know anything about how the new quarterbacks are going to react, and you don't definitively know how this person is going to end up participating in the Olympics that way.
And then also the pool of quarterbacks is way smaller, too. It's not like Patrick Mahomes is going out there. In 2028, the only quarterbacks that are capable of doing it is Jaden, Kyler, and Lamar. Yeah. So who contractually going to let them do it?
Oh, I'm sure Kyler's going to have it baked into his contract somewhere, though, now that he's endorsing, now that he went from having a contractual clause that accounted for study time to being a Call of Duty endorsed athlete. That completely turned that one on his head. All right, some phone calls. How about Bob in Spring Hill with a Monday roast on a Tuesday?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
You got me?
Yep.
Yeah, mine's for Scott McLaughlin, sitting in Buck's home state of Indiana, trying to figure out why the parade lap is taking so long coming into turn one, and realize Scott McLaughlin wrecks on the parade lap. Dude, you're roasted.
Roasted.
It's a tough look. It's a real tough look. Thank you for the call, Bob. The Indianapolis 500 did run this weekend, and that's about as disastrous a situation as you could have. He called it, quote, by far the worst moment of my life.
Of course, man.
Tough scene.
I didn't see it, but apparently, I think the local talent, what's his name, out of Hendersonville, was close to winning, if I'm not mistaken, too. Either way.
Newgarden.
It may have been Newgarden.
Is it Joseph Newgarden that's
Yeah,
local?
I think so. Joseph with an F.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. One more quick one. That's a roast for me, too, Buck.
Can I quickly roast somebody in the chat before you do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. One of these people, Chris Thomas, who was advocating of my afternoon of taking a gummy and getting a massage later, is claiming that he's my barber. No.
He's not.
No. Not even close. Shout out Marlon Quarles.
Boom. Roasted.
Boom.
Come on,
Roasted.
man.
You couldn't carry Marlon's water there, big boy. It's all right.
Listen, when you got a good barber, you hold on to that barber.
It's the thing that I fear the most about anything in my life changing. I don't want to find a new barber. I don't want to find a new gym.
That's too real. Those are two solid ones,
That's
man.
what it is.
100%. This one, man, goes to an AFC North foe. Joe Burrow, he's complaining about the schedule of playing the Ravens of all teams 4 times on primetime football. Joe, these are just the breaks. I get it. You want to host a home playoff game, and I think they got a night game in Cincinnati, too. But here's the thing. I've gone to Baltimore on Christmas. I've gone during the holiday season. I've gone at the beginning of the season, middle of the season, the end of the season. You play who you play, and the time of day is up to you on how you change that fan base and crowd around. Joe Burrow, if you are really that guy, don't start in this excuse-making world of saying, hey, woe is me. Absolutely not. The grandest thing you can do as a franchise quarterback is walk into somebody's trap and take over their trap, Joey B. Handle it. It's the best way to get a home game back in Cincinnati. So because you were complaining about it, boom, roasted. Now,
boom, roasted.
I didn't have Boris Johnson making an appearance in here. Boris Johnson been roasted a time or two in his life. Nothing I enjoy more. Well, there's few things I enjoy more than Ramon being AFC North big brother and verbally grabbing Joe Burrow by the cheek and pinching it and saying, oh, it's okay, little guy. That's so cute. You don't want to play the Ravens on primetime. Maybe you go out there and beat them one time, Joe.
Yeah, do that.
Maybe you go out there, and I know statistically Burrow and Chase weren't the problem in those Ravens games because that was nuts. But it is always a bit cute when Ramon has to just pat them on the top of their heads proverbially and send them on their way.
Send them on their way. We've been doing this for years. Come on, Joey B. You know how this goes.
All right. Last call for phone calls if you got them. That's about as fast as 4 hours 4 hours could be. 615-737-1045. We'll wrap it up with the big fella coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Brewed by Scooter's Coffee. It's Ramon and Will. Will is out this week for some reason. Has the smell gotten worse in this studio? Is there somebody with open-toed shoes that has wandered in amongst us? Maybe with some leftover sausage.
What if it was me? I just put my foot on the console.
The two of you are going to have plenty of time to do whatever the hell it is you're going to do in my absence, since I was filling in with Ramon today. Lucas and Robert are obviously going to carry the weight from 10 to 1. Isn't that the plan?
No, I'm going home after this segment.
What plan?
Oh, you thought I was going to do 7 hours of radio today. Do you know what I cost per hour? You going to pay that out of pocket?
No, I assumed our bosses would.
Wait, I thought you were Big Boss Bert now.
I don't handle the paying. I just handle the do this, do that. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. I assumed that you were just going to, it's your show. Your name is on it.
Memorial Day is today, yes. We are here as a favor to you.
Wow. Do you understand how difficult this is for me?
What's crazy is their chemistry together lets you know, like, Buck, if there's ever a situation where polar bear's coming up, you are getting thrown out.
Do you see what I was talking about with the comfort level of white males, the intimacy of white males? He's going to come in here and start talking about Lucas's ass cheeks here in a second.
They're looking good. They're looking good.
You got to kiss the homies goodnight. Isn't that the thing on TikTok?
I'm telling you, it doesn't go rainbow on the text when you type it in.
We got a couple more days till June, all right? Relax. Relax.
What's crazy is that little prank that's going around right now with friends call all their homies, like, hey, good night.
Oh, yeah. Sweet dreams.
You wouldn't even bat an eye if Bert did. That's the thing.
He does. He's literally the last person I talk to before I go to bed at night. It's
Every
exhausting.
time we end prime time, end it, me and Buck will stay in there for a second, and I go, all right, love you, goodbye.
Love you, bye.
And he'll just disappear. His connection must have failed at the end there. Glad that didn't happen during the show.
When we talked about the intimacy issues of professional athletes and how you have to create those relationships or help them create those relationships, that's kind of the dynamic that I'm fighting with my own show.
I see. I labeled you guys earlier. I'm not sure if you was listening, like Pinky in the Brain. The fact that you got on pink headphones right now, Bert?
And they are broke as hell. I don't know where my headphones are. I went on vacation and must have buried them in the sand. But who is Pinky and who is the Brain?
You never saw this?
No. I understand that.
Between the two of us.
Between the two? Because I'm going Lucas the Brain because he's more thoughtful in it. But you're also the Brain, too, because you are smarter than people know. But you act like Pinky, though.
I would be Pinky. I would 100% be Pinky.
You're 100% Pinky.
See, I was thinking more like of mice and men type of situation.
What are we going to do today, Brain? Take over the world.
So in that instance, at least by their actions, Lucas is the Brain because he has been actively trying to undermine me for damn near. I mean, we're coming up on 5 years.
Yep.
You are so bad at this, by the way.
I guess we did.
It's like
you're here and we're there.
We're still you're still working under a bit of indentured servitude with my name on both of your backs. All right.
Take that.
I don't like that. You know what? I think I'm going to take the day off as well.
Well,
you just got back.
I need it. I need to recharge.
That's what you told me on the balcony.
Imagine being you, but for 4 hours, because that's what Justin just had to deal with me today.
I was assuming as soon as I came in here, I thought Buck was going to be like, yes, I don't want Robert as my producer anymore. I'd like Justin. Yes, I had a fantastic day with him. He did everything I said and didn't complain once.
No, he didn't back talk me once. Well, he tried, and then I shut him down.
Got to keep fighting, Justin. You just got to keep fighting.
Okay. Yeah, you
got to have venom in that voice.
You keep fighting for 5 years, and then you just continue to spin your wheels the way that these two have.
It's like that old donkey in a garden out there. Like when he's a young donkey, he's probably kicking and braying a little bit, but Buck has beat me down. I'm cool pulling that plow, baby. Cool pulling the plow.
That's the only option he has because he can't fire you.
Yeah. You can almost get him fired now.
Fill my bag back up with those.
He's got more. Mo, we brought this up the other day, and we asked Buck, because Robert theoretically has more power than Buck now. Robert has hiring and firing power now, quite literally. And we asked Buck, "Oh, do you think you have the power to fire somebody?" He said, "Yes," and he believed it. And it's like when you see a little baby kitten trying to like jump up on a counter, and it can't do it. It doesn't have the ability. But it believes so much that it can. It was the cutest thing I'd ever seen.
The amount of people and times I've seen Buck go, "You're fired. Don't come back tomorrow," and then they just show back up.
But see,
still works.
I only need one. I almost had Jackson several times, and I'm probably gonna get him sooner rather than later. My head on a swivel. Have one more whoopsie. Your fat finger slips one more time on that button, so help me God.
See, Buck is too much like Kirby.
I could do 3 more hours. Let's go.
Buck, we gotta keep you in the studio. You hanging around with Kirby Allen. Kirby has you like this, like just talking about Jackson and just getting him fired too. I'm here for it. Pressure though, Buck.
You'll
locker room.
You'll never accuse me of stabbing you in the back because I'm going right in the stomach, just right in the gut.
How about you fellas stick around for 3 more hours? This is sounding pretty good,
fun, guys. Come on,
this is sounding pretty good.
I hate to admit it, but you guys sounded really good this morning.
In fact, I'm going to bother Lucas even more when I take Robert for a whole ass hour in the middle of the radio show because I've got a meeting that I've scheduled for 11 o'clock.
That's right. We've got contingency plans.
I commend y'all for the solo shows. Well, I don't see how y'all do that, man.
No, he doesn't. He's going to play an hour of the install and then take a nap.
I really don't. I'm not vain enough, Ramon, to enjoy hosting alone for 3 hours.
Who, me?
I'm with you, man. Goodness, Buck, this was dope.
Buddy, I had so much fun.
No gummies intended. This was dope.
Now, well, those are after the fact while I'm letting these two carry my weight. But I appreciate you having me in. I know you guys are going to have a great time with Brent tomorrow and the rest of the week. Keep it here on 104.5 The Zone. I guess they're going to do something. We'll find out.
Y'all know how it goes. Your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.